Shall we carry on?
Yeah,
Shall we start?
please.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
Yeah, like beginning
Um.
of August, I think. 3 weeks,
Okay. Okay.
maybe 4.
That's not as bad as I thought. Maybe three's good. If it's four, that's not great. Jay, I should probably start doing like what I think the kids call housekeeping. Like general pointers of other episodes before we get into it.
Okay.
Um, and I think giving an update into my schedule will help with those expecting
Yeah, I'm curious
consistent
as well.
episodes. Sure. Okay. So first up, the most recent recording's going out today. So yeah, we'll be caught up in terms of normal TGO shows by the time this goes live. We've also got the TGO Ragnarok, God of War Ragnarok special going live. I've edited it. I'm just waiting for the thumbnail. So that will be going live. Don't know when it's done. Probably to bridge the gap between TGO show 86 and then 87, which is this recording.
Why was our last one called Star Cell?
Because Starfield looks really good.
Oh, so like we were trying to sell it? Is that the whole point?
It will sell itself. It will sell
Right.
itself.
Okay.
And then we
Fair
did
enough.
one before on the original reveal last year, which we labeled as Staff Fail.
Oh.
So I just wanted because it didn't look that good. It didn't look as good as we were hoping. So
Well, I think it's just because we hadn't seen any of it. Well, technically, I'd seen more than you because I'd seen the leaks, but yeah.
sure.
We've actually. Oh, yeah, I see it now. Star Fail. That's funny.
Yeah.
That was 9 months ago we did that one.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
How things have changed.
wow. So the TGO special on that will be going up to bridge those two episodes. And in terms of timetables,
Mhm.
so I don't think we'll be recording next week because me and Jay
Are
will
going to
be
be
playing a
busy
game called Starfield.
in this long, to be specific.
3 days.
3 days, 9 hours, 40 minutes, 55 seconds.
I thought it was out on a Friday.
Yeah, it's at midnight, Friday morning.
Are you staying up?
No,
Okay.
I'll
You
play
got
when I
work
get home.
Friday?
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
but as soon as I get home, that is what I'm going to be doing.
I'm working from home on Friday, and I'm super grateful, dude, because
Cheeky.
I'm gonna no. I'll finish work at like 3, 4, but then I'm
Oh, so
straight
we'll
here.
be playing it at roughly the same time then.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm
'Cause I
I'm
get
right
home
here,
at
so
4, so
I
yeah.
I'm quite grateful I don't have to like train at home because like oh dude, oh yeah, that's no thank you. But I'll all be you've preloaded, I assume. What was it, 100 gigs?
Yeah, yeah, 100, I think. I think we're
Yeah, I
only
think
going
it's
to have to
100.
download 26 gig on the day.
That's good.
I think it's 126 for Xbox and 136 for PC.
Now that's the sort of game I don't mind having a big file size, Jay.
I
Unlike
deleted loads of
Warzone.
stuff to make room as well, so.
Mm. You want to share what you deleted? Anything that I'll feel like good about? Yeah, I love a good deletion.
Oh, I got rid of Fallout 3, and like all of the Call of Duties I re-downloaded.
Oh right, ready for
Just
like
to
the acquisition or?
No, I downloaded them just to see what the multiplayer was like.
Oh.
And I told you, didn't I, about like the first thing I heard in like one of the game chats was not very nice words. I was like, "Oh, we're back. Yeah, Call of Duty still the same old Xbox chat."
Are they all still fixed, Jay? Those servers?
Oh, dude, they're clean.
Really?
No lag. It's the cleanest I've ever had in my life.
Really?
It's perfection.
Okay.
It's nice to go back to. I kind of still
Fair.
want to try out a couple other ones as well.
Okay. So we'll be doing that next week. So I think, what do I think?
We've definitely got to do a special,
For sure.
but
But
we'll
what
probably do one before that though, right? We'll do a regular episode, then a special one after.
I think you're right, Jay. I'll get your thoughts on this, right? But I think what we should do is at least play the game for a couple of weeks. Probably
I'd
don't
say
talk
three to
about it.
four weeks minimum.
Agreed. And so I think we should do a normal episode where we don't really talk about it that much.
We
Then we
just sort
do
of give
this.
our like, we're with this
Is it
far
broken or
in,
not?
this kind
Sure.
of thing.
And then we'll do a
If something funny
special.
happens, maybe I don't know.
We'll do a special. And then we'll do after the special, we'll have every show will have a catch up of where we're at with it. How about
Yeah,
that?
I think I'm the thing I'm more excited about is the fact that we're gonna be playing at the same time.
Sure.
And what was the last time we played a game at the same time together?
Wonderlands.
Yeah, that's what was that, March last year? No,
Yeah.
May last year.
Came out. I thought it was March. Came out in
Uh,
May, March,
I
May.
thought it was May. It was one of the M's.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mother,
mother.
mother. Let
Yeah,
me have a quick look at this. Tell me when you get slow down on my end, by the way, Jay, because I don't
the
know when I
second you
get.
said, "Let's track this."
It's when I'm googling it. Right,
Yeah,
March 24th.
March. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay.
No, yeah, so March. So
One
that's
of the
quite a long
M's.
time. That's quite a long time ago. What, year and
Yeah,
a
it was
half
like
ago?
about 18 months ago. Yeah, 18, 19
Yeah.
months ago. Jesus. I could have swore we played something at the same time nearer than that, but I can't remember what it was now.
Wolong, maybe?
Maybe. I think I might have finished Wolong and you just started it, maybe.
That's true. El was saying he's quite excited for me to play Starfield when it's because it's brand new, and he's like, "When's the last time you did that, Nick?" And I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
what is
that's
the
true."
last game you played day one?
I guess if you don't class Wonderlands,
Yeah.
um uh I'm tempted to I think the last was part 2.
But yeah, that was what, 2019, 2020?
I think it was 2019,
Jesus, yeah, that's a long time ago.
June or July, I think.
Trying to think what was the last thing I played there. Well, technically a game that I'm about to talk about. I think I play more games day one than I do
You play
not.
a lot more, dude. You've got like Need for Speed and you got loads,
Yeah,
mate.
Unbound, yeah. A lot of Game Pass games. I play a lot of Game Pass day one things.
Sure.
Test
So
them
just
out,
down topic of housekeeping.
please.
So we'll do that then. So we'll have a quick update. Maybe the show after we've had it for a couple of weeks, we'll just give, general like, okay, it's not broken or it's not terrible or a rough guideline. Here's where we're at, how many hours, are we still playing it, etc. Then we'll do a special and then we'll give regular updates after that until either us are done with the game or not done with the game or whatever.
We're not even going to be close.
So that's that.
You know what's funny? I remember, I don't know if you remember Tyler. I think it was it might be, yeah, I think it was Tyler, back in high school. I remember him saying once, "Oh, when I played Fallout 3 for the first time, all I did was play the main story and just like got to the end super quick." Whenever I think of like a Bethesda game, I always think of that story of him telling that and me being like, "Well, that probably wasn't the best thing to do."
Oh no. As in he did that.
Yeah, maybe he
Yeah,
did
no.
it after he'd already played it for ages, but I just thought maybe he like tested it or something. But I
I
don't know
mean,
why that story just sticks in my mind to be like,
as
"Don't
in
do
as
that."
in yeah, yeah, yeah. No, 100%. Well, I guess play the games you want to play, but you're right, Jay. Don't play them like that. I
Yeah,
mean, there
that's
was definitely people in our school that did that ferociously, I would say.
I don't even really remember. That was just one that stuck out for me.
Well, to be honest, Jay,
I
like
think I just like overheard it and I was like, "Oh, that's strange."
that's weird. Dude, I remember some of the guys from back home, they when they got Red Dead 2, it was like, oh yeah, I finished the story in like a week. I'm like, what? It's like
Dude,
60
I
hours
played that
long.
game for a week and a half. I didn't even get close.
That's what I mean. So like it definitely still I think the filthy casuals do it, if I'm honest, Jay. I genuinely do. I think they hear a game like Red Dead 2 or Starfield and they mainline it and they're like, yeah, yeah, completed that, completed that. It's like, dude, you haven't even come close to experiencing that game.
You finished Red Dead 2.
Yeah,
I haven't yet. I do plan on going back. But what was your opinion of Red Dead 2? That's like one of your like up there games, you'd say.
yeah, I'd say so. You remember
How
Jay?
long? Now go on, you say.
I was just gonna say, do you remember me talking to you during COVID about
Yes.
yeah, all that sort
Specifically,
of
I remember
stuff?
you saying Silver Lining.
Yeah, yeah,
Remember? Yeah. No, I was going to ask, I
yeah.
know the number, but do you know how long that game was in development for?
I want to say 8, 7, 8 years.
Yeah, 7 or 8 years. Starfield is supposedly the same.
Sure.
So I think if there's hopefully anything to go by in terms of length of time taken to develop, hopefully that should be some indication. But not always the case.
Sure. But dude, that's isn't that mental that people have been working on that game for that? Like that's nearly a decade of your life.
Wait, what Starfield, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I remember Todd saying literally started developing it right after Fallout 4 came out. They were like, right, on to the next one, go.
Sure.
So 2016, they were like, yep, let's just go.
So
onto the
do you
next.
think if they say that, Jay, do you think the DLCs for Fallout 4 are pretty much
Oh,
nearly done by the time 4 comes out then?
yeah, I'd say so. They probably had at least two out of the three or four done. I
Sure.
reckon whatever was left was just a small team was left behind to work on
Finish
it.
it up. Yeah,
But to be
sure.
honest, though, like of the 7 or 8 years that Starfield's been in production, I'd imagine at least 6 to 12 months of that was pre-production of just like what's the idea, you know? Like there
Mm.
probably wasn't actually any actual graphical development until probably a couple months after that anyway. So they might have not even needed the whole team initially anyway.
It reminds
Hard to
me of
say.
Borderlands 3 DLC. Remember when Randy Pitchford was talking about how they had all the different teams working on the DLCs? But to be fair, how quickly those DLCs came out definitely made us both think that they were pretty much done. It was just a case of sort of finishing them off and
I think it's a
finishing
good thing to
touches,
do.
really. Hmm.
I'm hoping that's part of the reason why they delayed for so long. Because in theory, we should have already had this game for almost a year now.
Oh, dude, I hope it's polished, man. I'm
Oh, it will be.
praying.
Dude,
I'm
they've been
praying.
polishing for at least 3 or 4 months, if not longer. It's got
I
to be.
think that I'm pretty sure it was content complete before November last year, if I'm honest, Jay.
Yeah, I think the majority, I mean, of the interviews I've heard them say, a lot of it was just like the article that stuck up to me was they're still looking under every rock possible, basically, for any
For
sort of like
bugs and
bugs
things.
or like
Right.
things that aren't quite in place or, tweaking here and there. So I think at this point they're just sort of like nitpicking.
Dude, how do you test a game like that? You know?
Probably easier than you'd think, but still quite a task. I mean, I know they've all played it for hundreds of hours, if not probably close to thousands for some people. So
Sure. All right, well, should we dive in? Because we're both
please,
getting very excited about
dude, I'm so hyped. I'm trying not to get too excited though. My mind isn't actually really on Starfield too much at the minute. It's more into like watching movies and TV shows still.
I think that's good. To be honest, Jay, what you said to me earlier this week is how more I'm feeling in terms of I'm finishing off a couple of bits before Starfield, right? And I'm not going to start anything else new now, obviously. I'm finishing off a few things, but I am almost getting to the point now where I'm sort of like just biding my time for Starfield.
Dude, I've
And
been
I
buying
can't
my time since end of July. I've been
dude,
struggling, dude.
I can't
Seriously.
remember the last time I've done that for a game.
I
Like
know.
probably Red Dead 2 or like I
Mm,
remember picking it up. I think I've told you this story before, but I picked it up at midnight, come back, and I had to install it and it was like 100 gigs. And
yeah.
like I remember I cleaned the whole flat at like 1 o'clock in the morning and there was still 20 gigs left. And I was like, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do now? Like,
Go to
yeah.
bed at that point. Just wait.
Oh, nah. Absolutely
No,
not.
I think the last
Oh.
game I waited this long for might have been Gotham Knights. If I had to think about it, was it October last year?
What, as in you were like prepping for sort of
No,
thing?
just more of like just biding my time,
Mm,
being like,
mm.
I got to do something.
But I feel like after Starfield, Jay, like without going too much into it, right? I feel like anytime you're going to wait for a game after Starfield, whether that be Cyberpunk DLC, Spider-Man 2, whatever that might be,
Yeah, you've
you've
already
you've
pretty much
always got
nailed it.
you've always got Starfield to fall back on if you need to play something,
To be
right? So,
honest, yeah, I think I'm hoping that I won't need to play those other games until much later.
mm,
Like I'm hoping that I can have Starfield, Cyberpunk, Spider-Man 2, and a couple other Game Pass games that are coming out. I'll be playing some of them over Christmas, hopefully.
awesome.
That's the plan. Hopefully, whatever comes out in the next 2 months is going to last me until February next year. Is the plan.
And then some games come out in Feb, do they?
I certainly do.
Do you reckon we Bethesda games have always landed near Christmas for me, so they're always Christmas games. Do you
Huh.
reckon we might be playing Starfield to some serious extent even at Christmas over the Christmas period? Or
I'll probably be on my second playthrough, hopefully.
oh, Weesh.
Well, I'll probably have my first one, and I'll still probably keep doing stuff with it. But I'll hope I'll at least have enough knowledge to have wanted to start the second or third one.
Dude, Spider-Man 2 is going to look like chump change being 50 hours compared to Starfield.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. Although
uh,
it's like I've played Spider-Man 1 4 or 5 times,
sure.
and the DLC 4 or 5 times. So
Sure.
I really enjoyed those. So if I can do that again on this one, that'd be I definitely got my money's worth out of that. Like
Mm.
2 or 3 times over, I think.
Well, we're both very excited for it, so that's
Mm,
good. Jay, let's jump in. Let's jump in.
please.
Um, on the news doc, Jay, or the news stories you've given me, I didn't get like a Gamescom overview or summary. I don't suppose you've got one, have you? Or is there not one out there?
I didn't really look.
Do you
I just
want, is
thought I'd
that
go by. You can. I mean, I can find one if you
is that going to
bring
be
up
the
on your thing.
easiest? Is that going to be the easiest thing to do to
Yeah,
cover?
then I can just sort of like nitpick which ones.
Sure.
All Gamescom
And some of
announcements.
these news stories are included in the Gamescom presentation, right? In terms of like 40K Dark
Probably,
Tide, stuff like that.
probably,
Yeah,
maybe.
fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, boo, boo, boo. Boo, 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 boo. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties. We're just loading up things. Well, look, if we're going to do that, then let's just jump into the news now. So
Yeah,
while you're,
actually, I think the ones in the news are ones that specifically weren't mentioned in opening night live.
did you want to go through opening night live announcements and stuff, or are you good?
I mean, I was just going to sort of nitpick here and there.
All right, well, I'll run through the news stories and you can
Please,
let
yeah.
me know if you want to add anything else to it. I haven't watched it. I can't be asked to watch it. Um, Mainly because
Yeah,
there's just major spoilers for Modern Warfare 3 because I haven't finished the Modern Warfare 2 campaign yet. So
yeah.
I'm
I
just
mean, there
gonna,
could be. I couldn't even tell you, but
I'll
yeah,
do, I went on, sorry, go on.
I think it's not necessarily worth watching, but the same thing I mentioned to you, the same thing happened again with lack of security
Hmm.
on Jeff's part, which was a bit, people, if you're listening to this, you probably know. Some people managed to storm the stage again. And then I was saying to you about how I think if that happens, that cannot happen again.
Yeah, agreed.
Because the fact that Todd Howard came out on stage literally 45, 50 seconds after that, like, had that happened when Todd was on stage, that would have been different. That would have been awful. That would have been probably the end of GF, honestly.
Definitely
Would have
the
been
end of
so
opening
bad.
night live, I would imagine, to be
I don't
honest.
know. I think it just would have been a bad situation. I mean, it's bad enough that it already happened on his watch. Yeah, the thing is, I don't think that Jeff has enough. That Jeff necessarily is the person to go to. I think it's more the place that it's held. Like it was
Mm.
held in Germany, right? So should I think Jeff maybe needs to warn people next time and be like, look, this has happened before. Reputation of trolls, so you need to maybe up the security, and if not, I'll help like pay for it or something. Because especially, I think Jeff's thing is obviously Game Awards, right? So if that's his thing, he might need to put a bit more effort into in making sure the security is insane on that one. Like even with the first thing that happened last year, like it's almost like that kind of thing where like if you carry around a ladder and wear a high vis, you can get it anywhere. Like that's one of
Yeah.
those things. You wear a high vis,
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
walk you
yeah.
can walk into any building in the world, and people will think, oh, they're just doing maintenance
Yeah,
or something.
maintenance guy. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Like I feel
What's
like it
that in the
had that sort
suitcase?
of
Oh, just screwdriver. Oh,
yeah,
okay, yeah.
just toolbox or whatever, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like I feel like there was that kind of syndrome, I guess,
Sure.
of the whole situation. So I think it makes it harder. I think people might need to be screened or something. But again, that just costs too much money and takes too much time.
Yeah, like you say, Jay,
That's the
as
issue.
these events get bigger and more, whatever, like more people watch them, I think naturally the more security conscious they've got to be. Um, and just for a comparison case, Jay, I know it's not the same, but people, I think more people watch the Game Awards than they watch the Oscars. And I know no one watches the Oscars, but just as an example, right? But you've got to imagine how much more secure is the Oscars than the Game Awards? Probably a lot more secure. So,
Yeah, I think they have. I think that's the thing. Each celebrity probably has their own security detail, as
right.
well as the added for the
The
actual
general,
building.
yeah, right.
The whole thing's probably surrounded with police with like machine guns or something. So
Oh, can I just go on a quick side tangent, Jay? Because
it's
it's
actually
just
pretty
coming.
easy to do in Europe, by the way. Like if you go to any European airport, there are police with like UMP 45s, like genuinely.
Mm.
They're everywhere. It's crazy. Yeah, go on, tangent.
Yeah, just a quick one. Just reflecting on some of the old Game Awards, I just feel as though I'm not sure whether Jeff's um, trying to merge common popular culture more with video games because, as we've talked about before, there is still a bit of a gap there. But I do find it a bit weird that there is a little bit of a consistent obsession with getting celebrities there and presenting an awards, well, asking them to present awards when actually, you know, there's no need for them to come on stage and fib or lie
No,
about how, video games have affected their lives or their grandchildren's lives. I think why not just get someone from the industry, right? Like the Oscars doesn't have anyone from the game industry. So like, do you know what I mean? Like,
it's a tough one because I think Keanu was maybe one of the first
sure.
examples of this, and he killed it. Like he absolutely destroyed. Didn't we have Al Pacino last year?
And that was one of the examples where I'm like,
Yeah, that was unnecessary. Like Al Pacino didn't need to be there. Like he doesn't like young people don't know who Al Pacino is. I mean, they do, but they don't give a shit. Like
and also
even I
like
don't
he
give
doesn't
much of
play
a
video
shit to
games,
me.
like
Well, that's not even that. I just think Al Pacino isn't our generation. Like
so
he's
yeah,
not
I
really.
get you.
I think maybe for older millennials or maybe even like younger boomers, maybe, but not for Z or Alpha or young
But maybe
millennials.
the
Not.
older gamers are the ones watching it, perhaps. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but I don't know. I guess
I
you
don't
you
know.
that's the thing. You can try to appeal to everybody, but you're always going to annoy someone, aren't you?
Yeah, sure, sure.
So hard to say. But I don't know. I think if I think Henry Cavill would be an amazing guest.
100% Jay. You're so spot on with that.
Henry Cavill is spot on. I think if he came on to do something Warhammer related, that'd be
Or
cool.
even Witcher, whatever. Like, yeah,
No,
totally.
I think just because
Whoa, whoa.
he's doing the Warhammer Amazon
The
show, isn't he?
sure,
So
sure, sure.
I think if they had some sort of like game coming out for that, that'd be cool. But
Jay, you remember when that Lord of the Rings TV show came out? You remember that?
yeah, they finished filming already the second series, haven't they?
Oh, okay. I thought everyone had wiped it from their memories already, but
I mean, I try to forget as best I can. As far as I'm concerned, the only Lord of the Rings that have ever existed are the books and the first three movies. Same with Star Wars, same with Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones is only three
Ghostbusters.
movies. Ghostbusters. Well, actually, I watched the newer sequel to Ghostbusters
Afterlife?
Afterlife. It's actually decent, and I cannot
Yeah.
wait for the next one. Cannot wait for the next one.
Are they doing the next one?
But yeah, it got delayed, but it's decent. It's
So
actually decent.
is Afterlife set like rebooting it again, as it were?
No, it's just the grandkids of one of the original Ghostbusters.
So is it related to the 2016? Is it 2016? Not at all.
Now, the 2016 thing didn't happen in this universe.
Did any of the OG Ghostbusters were they in the 2016 film?
No, but they were in this one.
Ah, do you think they knew how bad it was then? Okay. Okay.
I think they might have even made a joke about it in the movie.
Okay. Got you.
Should be funny, but there we are.
So,
Yeah,
sorry, I think we were discussing Gamescom. So are you okay for me to move on to the news
just
stories, Jay?
go for
Yeah?
it. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Also, do you tell me if I'm too quiet or whatever, you know?
You're fine, you're
I
fine.
can't hear myself. Okay. First up, this comes from the Larian Studios director on Twitter.
Larian,
I will call it
yes.
Twitter because
Me too.
Twitter.
It's Twitter. It never won't
E3
be.
Twitter, same thing. Baldur's Gate 3 on Xbox will have cross-save compatibility not just with PC but also with PS5, Jay.
Yeah, so this was just more to remind me about the fact that Larian and Phil Spencer at Gamecom literally had a meeting and were like, look, we need to get this thing on Xbox. What can we do? And so Xbox were like, yeah, we'll send over our team and we'll get it fixed. It's coming out this year. So
Mental.
thank God for that. I know Phil even said in part of an interview, he was like he was saddened at the fact that it's coming out on PlayStation before it's coming out on Xbox because he knew how much he was going to lose out on some audiences, which I'd be pissed to do as well, to be honest. Like so it is a little bit like exclusivity, but maybe not as like not a year long period afterwards, more like a couple months. But even so, it's going to affect it regardless. But I think this game is going to be probably the best selling one of the best selling games of this year. Actually, I think it might have even beat out Harry Potter
That can't
because
be right.
Harry Potter um, sold the most this year, and I think Baldur's Gate is like a good decent chunk of the way there, and we haven't even come out on PlayStation or Xbox yet. So I have to wait and see on that one. Although to be honest, I mean Spider-Man's probably got a pretty good shot at it too. Same with Starfield. I think the first half of this year was pretty lacking, but the second half is probably one of the better gaming release schedules we've ever had. Like, I saw someone make a list of all the games that have already come out this year, and I was like, oh, actually, maybe 2023 wasn't that bad. Kind of pretty stacked year,
Oh,
to be honest. I think
dude,
I
it's
think 2023
massive
might be
year.
the best year we've had in the last five, probably.
I think the best year since 2018. I think for
2018 or
sure.
2019. Actually, no,
Well,
2019 was lacking, is what I meant. But yeah,
oh, okay.
so yeah, 2018 would have been the best. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. Yeah. This whole, well, first of all, Jay, you told me to go watch that Phil Spencer interview with Destin Legary, conducted at
Hmm.
Gamescom. Definitely worth a watch for anyone interested in Xbox and Destin
Yeah,
asking Phil
I
Spencer
love
some
Destin's
hard-hitting
questions,
questions.
dude. I love it when
Very
Phil can
good.
answer them too. He's good at it. He can like you can see the cogs just like really really going.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
He's such an
Yeah,
awesome interviewee to watch.
and I think Destin's a fan of Xbox, and I think he's a fan of Phil Spencer, but he also knew
Mm.
there were some really hard questions that he really wanted to ask him.
Yeah, the kind of
So,
things where like I almost was like, oh, like I kind of cringed a little bit, like, oh, you asked him that? Jesus. Like I was a little shocked that I think there's almost like an unspoken rule that a lot of journalists don't ask the hard hitting questions anymore, and I love that. I think Ryan is pretty good at it too.
mm,
Ryan and Destin are pretty amazing at asking the hard hitting questions. I want to
agreed.
see more of that because I feel like people have had it way too easy.
It's quite crazy to me, just on this story. It's quite crazy to me that well, actually, I guess it's good that Xbox made it work, but it is a bit crazy that a couple of meetings later, and it's like, yeah, it's coming this year. I'm like, whoa. It does also make me think. Again, we've talked about this at length, right? But what issues of communication have Xbox got where, again, I mean, Jay, we spoke about this, right? Like Baldur's Gate 3 couldn't bring the split screen mode and features to Series S, so it can't launch on Series S or X. It's
Yeah,
like,
parity
let it
clause, dude.
go, guys. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
I
almost
know.
like they have almost too much faith in themselves.
Mm,
Like when we know that they probably shouldn't have that much faith in themselves. It's like we look, you're Xbox. You tend not to meet a lot of expectations anyway. So just you keep you. This thing, Phil just keeps going on and on about how we're going to meet deadlines, we're going to meet expectations, time, but you just don't,
mm,
and you're still not doing it. I think you could literally say Xbox's middle name is inconsistent.
mm.
But I would like to see, that's, I feel like consistency is probably one of the hardest things in any industry. Like consistency is probably like catching lightning in a bottle. Like it really is. It's like it very rarely happens.
Again and again and again and again.
It's more of just like a human error type thing, I guess. It's just very, it's high expectation. You shouldn't always expect the perfect thing every time. But
And
when
if
it
we
does
look at
happen, that's when you get the best of the product.
and if we look at any studios who did have some form of consistency over a long period,
Yeah, I'm
let's
trying to
say
think.
BioWare, right? They have
Dude,
Mass Effect 1, 2, 3, and the Dragon Age games. And that was it,
they're on
right?
the complete other end of the spectrum now. They're like way at the
Exactly.
bottom for me. Like as far as I'm concerned, if BioWare went under, wouldn't surprise me.
Exactly. And I would argue that Rockstar is beginning to wane too, truth be
Yeah,
told, with
a lot of these
the
older ones are starting to wane. Yeah, and
I
I think
mean, Naughty
like
Dog, what have they been doing for, a failed
yeah,
multiplayer game because Sony's forcing them to make it. We don't know what they're
I
doing, and
think Naughty
it's
Dog's
been
a
four
funny one because
years.
I think they think too highly of themselves. They think, oh, we made two of the best selling games ever. We don't really need to like. They're almost to me, they're a little bit like a YouTuber who knows that they're going to get guaranteed 10 million views on each video, so they only release one video every month.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I am too, but I feel like rather than a month, it's like every 5 to 7 years, which is probably a good thing because I'd rather a company who knows they're that good should take the time to be that good, right? But it's almost like
Uh,
whenever they talk about themselves, they think of themselves like so highly, and like it's like, hang on,
I
you need to
mean, to
be
be
around a
fair,
little bit longer for us to give a shit. I think to
well,
be honest, if you can only speak that highly of yourself if the community agrees. Like to me, Bethesda can talk like that, and I think
oh,
BioWare at
Jay,
one point could.
sure. Dude, Naughty Dog been making masterpieces
Yes,
since
I know.
Uncharted 2.
They've been making games for a long time, but I
Jack
don't
and
I I don't
Daxter,
think they can
Crash
quite
Bandicoot.
say Like they're not on Bethesda's level, I don't think.
Oh, Jay, I think they're above Bethesda, frankly, right now. If
Uh,
you were like, who would you want a game from tomorrow?
I
Oh,
think
that's a
they're
difficult
definitely
question.
like maybe they're top five.
I think they're top three for sure. In fact, Jay, I think Bethesda may not be top three depending on Starfield.
Who develops Horizon?
Guerrilla Studios.
Hmm.
They've not, Jay, not even
No,
close.
I know. I think in terms of like portfolio, they haven't. But I think that's the thing, and
Consistency.
I think, yeah, I think if you base it on portfolio on previous things, I guess you could say they're in. There's a lot of studios in the running.
To
There's
be fair,
definitely a
Jay,
lot where you can look at and go, they probably had the chance to like take the place of someone else in the
just
future.
like the Baldur's Gate 3 developers, like you
Yeah,
could kind of see the
Larian have.
writing on the wall
If
there.
that's the thing, Larian are made up of old BioWare devs.
Right,
They're the ones who, old BioWare were made Baldur's Gate 1 and 2.
right, right, right.
So it makes sense to me that I genuinely think that whatever Larian's next game is, either has a 50-50 chance of being as good as BG3 or just terrible.
Mm.
I feel like they're one of those studios where they might have again lightning in a bottle, and it's either going to be not even close or maybe somewhere close.
Reminds me a bit of FromSoft as well, Jay, right? Like we could see
Yeah,
that it was building and building and building up to Elden Ring, but then
yeah.
Armor Core
Elden Ring
6 has
was
just
definitely
dropped,
their
and then
what do you call it? Magnum opus.
right, right.
It's their somewhat pinnacle from as far as we've seen. I do think Armor Core is. You know what's funny? I think any game that's FromSoft now releases after Elden Ring doesn't necessarily have to be heralded, but I think it has enough behind it where you can't say too much bad about it. Like it'll never be less than a seven. Let's put it that way. Anything
Sure.
FromSoft makes now will never be less than probably an eight, if you ask me. Like I just think they have at this point they have the consistency, quality, like all in the same thing. Like anything they release is going to be top notch. It's going to be in the highest level of what AAA can do, if you ask me.
Well, to be fair, you could couldn't you
They've proven
argue?
themselves.
Hmm, couldn't you argue they have been doing that since Dark Souls 1, sort
Oh,
of
dude,
thing?
they've been doing that for a long time. Yeah.
Hmm.
I just think people didn't recognize it until Dark Souls 2 came out. Because Dark
Well,
Souls
more.
1 didn't sell until I think right before Dark Souls 2 or just after.
Sure, sure, sure.
Dark Souls 1 sold 50,000 copies in its first year.
Right.
50,000. That's disgusting. How low is that, dude? I think the majority of that was Japanese.
I reckon it probably sold more last year on a random year
Oh,
in
dude, than
terms
it
of
did in its
like,
first year,
yeah,
100%. It probably
yeah,
sold more in like 6 months than it did in its first year.
mental.
Pick any year. Yeah,
Right,
crazy.
exactly, exactly.
Good on
Let's
them.
move
Good
on
on
because
them.
we're getting into some good
It's a good
tangents
topic,
here.
though. Good topic.
It is, it is. What I feel like I was going to say something that, uh,
Something about BioWare.
yeah, and just the communication with Xbox in that, right?
Oh,
Just
the
in terms of
communication.
the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
next gen stuff. I know Series S classes as next gen. I get that, but I think we really are feeling the hits here, Jay, of now we're in a place where we have mid-generation upgrades and we have half generation upgrades at a new generation in terms of Series S not being as powerful as a Series X. And I think we're really suffering from that in terms of owners of the top gen console right now, right? There might be a case, Jay, in a year or 2 years' time where we're going to get the Series X.5, whatever the hell
Well,
they
I
call
can
it.
I can speak on that because Phil's already spoken on that. He says it's not happening. He said the
What at
next
all?
console you'll get out of us will be the next Xbox. It'll be the next generation.
He said that.
Pretty sure. Yeah. And I
So
think
the
PlayStation have said it as
mid-generation
well.
upgrades are like going out the door now, are they? Not like
Well,
weren't worth it or
I
what?
think I genuinely think Phil is potentially making something, but I think they're waiting to see what Sony does. Because Sony have said both. They've said they're going to do a mid and they're not going to do a mid on different occasions.
Right.
So I think they're just sort of testing, seeing what the industry's up to, basically.
I guess the question is, Jay, how well do the PS4 Pro and the One X sell? I don't know.
And so I was going to bring up you have said to me before about how the Series S seems to be the thing holding X back. Do you know what it feels like to me? It feels a little bit like if you had like a little brother and like you want to go hang out with your mates, but you have to bring your little brother with you.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
kind of what the Series S feels like to me. It's like, oh, do I have to? That's kind of what it feels like. And he's just overburdened. And he ends up hurting his knee or something. Like, oh, I've got to go
Right.
home now and take him home and all this kind
Right.
of bull. That's kind of what that feels like to me. Like a really burdensome younger brother, you know?
I
Like who
reckon
you
there's
love at the end of the day, but he's just a nuisance right now, you know? Like mum and dad love him, but I couldn't give a shit, you know?
yeah, yeah, whatever. Whatever.
Yeah, like he's
I
just,
think
I want to do my own thing. I want to be independent or whatever.
I think developers probably see that too, right? Because
They must
they've
do.
now got to technically develop for what, maybe four Xbox platforms if you class Xbox One too, which is
I
fucking
genuinely hope that if
nuts.
anyone's making games now, that they have taken Xbox One out of the equation.
I should hope so.
Yeah,
I
I think
mean,
anything being made after 2021 should not even have X1 in its crosshairs at all.
mm,
And
mm.
to be honest, I genuinely think if a game company even bothered to want to make it for S as well, then they shouldn't. They should just ignore it. I think it sends Xbox a message as well. Although I bet there's something like a contract. I reckon if you sign a contract with Xbox that says if you want to make a game for our console, you have to make it for S as well. I
Well,
reckon it's part of the contract.
that is exactly what Destin brought up in the interview because that is in place for Baldur's Gate 3. I
There you
can't remember.
go.
It was something the something
Just a
clause.
parity clause.
Right.
It just means that if the game has to run with all the same features on both consoles, like you can't miss
Exactly.
out a single feature. But they've made an exception for Baldur's Gate 3 in this case
Right.
because the
And
people
also,
spoke up. Like there was literally talk online, so much talk online that they were like, right, we just have to make an exception this time.
but again, it's it's frustrating, Jay, because
Yeah,
games like God of War
holds
Ragnarok, for
Xbox back
instance,
massively.
there's moments in God of War Ragnarok where you're like, the only reason this is in here is because it needs to run on PS4. The only reason this
Oh,
section.
there's actually a really funny thing. There was an article about how Armored Core 6 runs better on PS4 Pro than it does on PS5.
How's that? What?
Yeah,
Is
how
that
is
Digital
that?
Foundry?
Maybe. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, isn't that crazy? And that
What's
it's
the
funny.
point of
Like
owning a PS5?
everything Digital Foundry have done recently with like comparison of X and PS5 in terms of like performance, PS5 has been lacking in every occasion.
Has it really?
Like on most things, PS5 is like 10 frames behind on most
But
things.
to be fair, we knew the Xbox was more powerful, right?
Oh, on paper it is massively, yeah, but it seems to also be proving itself in practice as well.
That's good to
Xbox
hear.
is way above.
They just need games. But no, I hear you.
Isn't that funny? Can you imagine if PS5 ran as good as the X and the X ran much worse? Like PS5 would be two or three times ahead of where they are now.
Yeah, I mean they
Like
would
it'd be
be ahead. Yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
I mean,
it
they are
would.
already ahead by twice the amount, but
Right, right. Imagine if
it'd
they
be
had the
it would
technical.
literally
I
be
know.
like you wouldn't be able to see them on the horizon anymore. Like at least Xbox can somewhat see them in front of them, but
I
yeah,
suppose they sort of did. They sort of did that with. Yeah, they did that with PS4 because like I don't even know if Xbox One sold 50 million units and the PS4 sold what like 120 million units, so like
yeah,
or something
over
crazy.
double, yeah.
So and it was cheaper and it was technically more powerful, I think.
Hmm.
So
Crazy,
crazy.
isn't it? Crazy.
According to P, as reported by PC Gamer,
Hmm.
developer Fat Shark, what a great name, has revealed that Warhammer 40k Dark Tide will be coming to Series X and S on October 4th.
Yeah, it was supposed to come out May of this year, and then they delayed it. All of a sudden, they were like, right, not doing that, and then we'll bring it out later. I think it's
Jay, wasn't
because
this game
again they
quite
had
broke?
trouble trying to. Yeah, I think they had a lot of trouble on PC. They were just having to fix a bunch of stuff. I don't think it was like broken per se. I just think it didn't run on console as well as it did on PC. So they were like, right, we'll delay it and get it to run better. Which I'm happy about. I've been wanting to play this game for ages. I don't
So
think
you'll
it'll
be,
play as well as I'd like it to, but I'm still gonna give it a go.
will you be
Probably probably won't be
playing
playing
it
it
day
day
one?
one.
No.
No, I'll probably still be playing. Well, actually, Cyberpunk probably won't take me that long to play, just because I'm pretty efficient with that game. I'm hoping Starfield will still be on my radar, so it's up for debate really. I might play it day one, just depends on where I'm at,
But
really.
don't you it's like that Cyberpunk DLC might be as big as like Blood and Wine, right? Which is massive.
Dude, it's a big DLC. I'm gonna let's
Mm,
talk about it in a little while, but man,
okay,
yeah, it's
it's
crazy.
coming up. It's coming up. Okay,
It's
moving
there.
on. It's there.
It's coming up, coming up.
Coming up. Coming up.
We always do that. We're like, if one of us says something out of a lyric out of a song, just have to finish that lyric.
I know. Probably I don't know what it is.
That's an older millennial thing, I think.
Uh, we've got a blog post, Jay, from BioWare. Speaking of, General Manager Gary
Yes.
Mackay has updated saying that they are eliminating 50 roles at the studio as part of a new long-term vision, quote, that will make it, quote, more agile and more focused studio.
Yeah, this is a little bit worrying because I think one of the people they got rid of, I think, was one of the original writers on the original Baldur's Gate games. Like
So
one of the
must have been
ones
there for
that
quite
didn't
some
leave
time.
years ago. He's been there bloody 30 plus years, I think.
Interesting.
It's
Maybe he
like,
thought
how do
he
you
or
get
she
rid of
thought it
that?
was. Well, maybe he
I
or
was gonna
she thought it
say
was time, and
maybe
they
that
took a
person
redundancy package.
voluntarily, yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they maybe BioWare sent out a thing saying, look, we have to get rid of 50 people. Does anyone want to go? And we'll give you a big redundancy thing. And then I reckon a few of them were like, yeah, it's probably Tom, more than likely, because obviously they're working on Dragon Age at the minute, aren't they? So,
100%.
but it's weird. Like we keep bringing this up. Like to me, the studios that are feeling a bit lackluster at the minute, like you say, a Rockstar, BioWare is one for me, and Ubisoft. Like yes, they've got a lot going for them, especially Ubisoft and Rockstar. Um, but it almost feels like they're sort of starting to lag behind a little bit. But I guess that you could say that more so just because they don't release things as often, much like a Naughty Dog. It takes them like 7 or 8 years to develop something, which you could say the same about with Bethesda. But to me, Bethesda almost feels like they're always in the limelight.
Mm.
Like I don't remember the last time Bethesda wasn't spoken about at any point during a release season, even though they had nothing to release. I think it's because they've released Skyrim like 27 times.
And we had Fallout
Probably why.
76 as
Yeah,
well, which
76 helped. Part of me thinks that 76 was actually made just to keep them relevant.
I
It was
think
like an
that's part of.
experiment,
I think that's part
you
of the
know.
equation, Jay. I genuinely think
Definitely a
that they
part.
made
Probably
that
not a
game.
massive part of it.
They made that game partly because, well, one, because they knew a Fallout game wasn't going to come soon, but also because
Yeah.
they have a lot of hardcore dedicated fans who I guess saw that game as not an MMO, but also not a single player game and felt, well, if no, Bethesda games aren't going to come out in the next 5 years, I can just play this for 5 years. And I guess that's maybe what part of the thinking was.
I mean, the whole thing at the minute is people are saying that, we've been playing Skyrim for over a decade now. We're probably going to be playing Starfield for over a decade, so it should tide us over to. Did he say what was going to be next? Was it going to be Elder Scrolls 6 or Fallout
Yeah,
next? I think it was going to be
I was,
6, wasn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, okay. So what, we waiting like 8, 9, 10 years for that? Probably.
I think at this point in time, a good release date,
2030? 2031?
2028, in my opinion.
I honestly, I'd be surprised if it was anything before 2030. I'd be very
I,
surprised.
I think that'd be disappointing.
I think it would be beneficial.
Mm.
I'd much rather they take their time on it. It's got to be perfect, you know this.
That's true, Jay. But if I'm honest, I need to see Starfield first before I can, because if
It's
I feel
true.
like Starfield
Starfield's
hasn't
going to be
had the
the indicator,
time,
isn't it? It's going to be
right?
the indicator to
Exactly.
be like, right, where are they headed? Because
Right.
Fallout 4 was a good, for me, that was like, oh, they're headed that way.
Right.
I could tell. I was like, oh, they've gone in that direction.
Yeah.
Same with 76, kind of, I guess. But yeah,
Yeah.
you can just
Exactly.
tell.
Exactly. And like, we haven't had a proper game from them in a long time, Jay. Like nearly 10 years. So you've got to think we need to catch up and see where they're at, right? Because I know you've done a lot of research, but I haven't got a fucking like. Yeah, I know there's base building and you can customize your ship and stuff, but from sort of game to game play, I haven't got a clue what it's going to feel like.
I
So
was
like,
thinking more like graphic wise, not even
okay,
necessarily like gameplay wise. I was thinking more like graphically. Like to me, well, you
interesting.
got to think Elder Scrolls 6 isn't coming out on Xbox Series X.
Has he really said that,
No, well, he might have hinted towards it, but it can't be, right? There's no way. As
dude?
far as I'm
Dude,
concerned,
do
it'll
you
either
know
be the
what?
last thing to come out before the new gen comes out, or it'll be on next gen.
Wouldn't it be? It'd be like Oblivion, but not really. But a bit like Oblivion, where imagine if we had an Elder Scrolls within a year of the next gen consoles coming out. That would be insane.
Yeah, I think it'd be good if it was a release title, to be honest. It would sell
Agreed.
Xboxes like crazy. I
Speaking of
genuinely
which,
think that's what
Jay,
they're going to do. It would
you,
probably help Xbox beat PlayStation at the beginning, and then
mm,
PlayStation at some point would overtake.
agreed, agreed. Especially if they're still
Unless,
making live service games.
what would a PlayStation release title have to be to beat out Elder Scrolls 6? Well, to be
It,
honest, Elder Scrolls 6 has to come out on PlayStation. It has to. I
mm,
think it'll be a timed exclusive. I
I'm
think
not
it'll be a
sure.
three to 6 month timed exclusive.
Nah, year minimum, minimum.
Well, if it's going to help them sell consoles, then maybe.
Jay, you sent me a picture, I think, right, of Series X selling. What was it? A lot more because Starfield's about to come out. Is that right?
Yes, 1,035% on Amazon. It went up.
Is that UK?
I think that's either UK or global. The thing with that is, though, even a lot of people who are only PlayStation players have bought Xboxes specifically for this.
Well, what's interesting, Jay, is I thought those players would have bought a Series S, not an X.
Probably both.
Cheaper,
Probably both.
smaller. Hmm.
Just depends on what
Like,
kind of gamer you are.
like you say, Jay, if there was one game that was going to make my brother buy an Xbox, it would be Starfield. So,
Yeah, obviously.
um,
Same for a lot
but
of people, I imagine.
exactly. Um, I'm not even sure if they know they're just not going to play Starfield yet because it's one thing to say I'm not bothered, but a month after it's out and all people are still talking about Starfield, it's a different ball game.
Mm.
You know, it's like Elden Ring. That game lasted for like 3 months.
Longer, I think.
Right.
I mean, people still talk about it like it's,
Came out
heaven
yesterday.
sent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like Elden Ring really is like one of a kind.
Hmm.
It's crazy. Yeah,
So, Jay, I need to ask you about this next story.
please.
So, I think this comes from Opening Night Live from Jeff Keighley himself and team and
Probably.
co.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk 2077 2.0 is coming to the base game on consoles alongside Phantom Liberty in September.
It's a free update, yeah.
Okay, so is this update already out on PC, Jay? Cyberpunk
No,
2.0.
no. It's
So
coming out
this
all the same day, I think. Global release.
with Phantom Liberty.
Yeah, I think the day Phantom Liberty comes out, 2.0 will also come out, yeah.
So
So
with
basically,
this,
people have been saying that
hmm,
2.0 is essentially what the game should have been released like.
okay.
Let's put it that way. A lot of features that they thought were going to be in the game on day one are coming out with this, which I'm
So
going
when
to
you
go
say
over.
features,
I have a
Jay,
list. I have a list.
right? So are we talking about new content or just like fixes and things?
Yes, it's a massive fix update as
Okay.
well as a bunch of content as well. Like whole new features. The gameplay's even like crazy different, like from what I've seen. It's insane.
So with this, but before you go on the list, Jay, with this
Yeah,
coming
yeah, yeah.
out, what? How are you feel? Okay, I'll tell you how I'm feeling, Jay. I'm feeling fortunate that I haven't played it yet because, like,
Well, not
hopefully,
properly.
yeah. Sorry, I played it for a few
Let's put it
hours.
this way. I think if this comes out, I'd recommend that you play it from the beginning again.
Yeah, agreed. Completely agree.
Because I think you've only
Completely
put
agree.
2 or 3 hours in from what I've seen. Like you definitely
Yes.
need to start again once this comes out. Jesus, yeah, it's
Right. So how are
gonna be
you feeling?
insane.
Because I know you obviously played it years ago at this point. Are
Yeah,
you?
I'm
Yeah.
excited and disappointed and bummed at the same time. Like I kind of wish that the game had come out like this,
Yeah.
but I'm glad that I had the opportunity. Like to me, it almost feels like the games have been in beta since day one.
Okay.
That's kind of what it feels like. I kind
But
of
that being
wish that my
said,
first
Jay,
experience was going to be this, but I'm glad that it wasn't in a way because I think there probably would have been too much. Like it almost gives me like I almost feel like a beta, like a closed beta tester. So when the game does come out finally in September, I'll have been like, oh, I know how to do this already, so I'm just gonna like whiz through and experience it with like the knowledge of someone who's already played it for so long.
right.
So I
But
think
are
it's a good
you
and a bad thing.
sure?
Pros and
But
cons.
at the same time, Jay,
Uh-huh.
sorry, I'm just gotta keep my track before it goes.
No, do it. Yeah.
Yeah, you from memory, you didn't hit too many issues anyway when you played
No,
through it,
it's
right?
funny
So,
when the game first came out, there was almost zero bugs in the game,
hmm,
especially on Series X. 'Cause that's obviously what I played it on. I genuinely think for that first week, 2 weeks, I didn't hit a single bug. Then they released the first patch to fix all the bugs for Xbox One and PC, and then that's when I started to get the problems. I was like, oh, they hit the wrong button somewhere. They've tweaked it too much now. Because one of the things I remember, I think either those devs or some devs in the past have said is that when you tweak a game like that, it's a lot like brain surgery. Like put the knife in the wrong place, they can't speak English anymore, type of thing.
Sure.
So I have a feeling that's initially what they've done and had to fix since then. So I think the last 2 years has just been them fixing the issues from their first update, if you ask me. Which I
Okay.
think they've gotten the majority of that fixed anyway. I still think the game doesn't run spectacularly, um, as well as I'd like it to, but I'm hoping this will fix a lot of that stuff. I mean, it kind of has to. With the amount of features they've added, if this game doesn't run how I want it to, I'm going to be like, oh, what was the bloody point?
Well, my next question, Jay, was going to be: does this genuinely end there? Apart from some fixes to Phantom Liberty, which I'm sure will come, does this end their patches? Because I'm surprised they're still patching it. Truth be told, so like, are they going to do a 2.1 or
No, because
2.2? Like
yeah, they'll
what?
have to. I think with the amount of stuff they've added, there's going to be something that's going to go wrong.
Right. Oh, shit.
Has to be, right?
But then it's like, when do you jump in? Like, do you know
Let's
what
put it
I
this
mean?
way. This game honestly feels like it is a foundation, like Destiny 2, and
Yeah,
they just keep adding to it.
sure.
I think that's the best way to look at it. I think you should look at Cyberpunk as like a Destiny 2 game that just keeps getting added onto. It's never done. It's always in development, I think.
But it should have
It's the
been
best way
done,
to look at
right?
it.
It should have been a
No,
complete
I actually
package.
think the part of the reason why this game wasn't as well received is because it wasn't marketed properly. I think had they marketed this game as this is the foundation, we will keep developing it over the next 3, 4, 5 years, and then it'll get gradually more features, more updates, more everything. I think had they not released it, the hype would have died. So they had to release it and just keep adding to it. I think that is problem is like people don't complain about Destiny 2 not being finished or not finished because technically it wasn't. Like there's still stuff that's being released for it that has
Mhm.
helped make the game better. Now, why can't you look at Cyberpunk the same way? Because it was marketed wrong. Had they marketed it as this is the foundation, we will just add to it over the next 5 years. I think
So
people
from
would have
you,
would have received it differently. It would have been looked at differently.
I think that's
All
true.
about the perception. I look at
So
it like that. I look at it like a Destiny 2. I don't look at it like I can't think about it as like a finished product anymore because it isn't. It never will be. It's too ambitious. In the same way, I kind
mm,
of feel like Starfield is similar, to be honest, and that is my main concern: is that too ambitious of a game is not
mm,
possible. But I think Starfield might be the version where it could be possible
I
because they've
understand.
set the expectations a lot lower. Cyberpunk expectations were way too high.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
The ceiling has been like we've seen like it's almost like Truman Show. Like there's a barrier. Like we know where the boundary is with Starfield, but with Cyberpunk there wasn't much of a boundary to be given. It was kind of like, yeah, you can kind of do anything. It's like no, there was limits, but you just didn't tell us, and I think that's where people got annoyed. Is we weren't told about the limits necessarily.
I do think that the Starfield X hype train is lower still because of of Cyberpunk. I think it will be decades before we let hype get to that level ever again because of how disappointed a lot of people were, frankly.
Yeah, you could also make the argument that Starfield is much like how I described what Cyberpunk is. Again, it's a foundation because what Bethesda have done is they've added a modding system to the game where from day one, if you want to mod the game, you just can straight away, the same way Skyrim did years later.
Really?
I've even seen people online make the argument like, "Oh, Bethesda, here they come again," like shitting on the game almost, being like they let the community finish their game for them. Because if you ask a lot of people online, games made by game developers aren't actually their games; they're the community's games that finish them for them years later with modding. Like
Sure.
modding, like Cyberpunk, if it wasn't for I mean, you know this. Cyberpunk, CD Projekt Red hired all the modders, the main best modders for Cyberpunk, and then made them help with the game. Modders are the future of gaming, I think, for a lot of people. And I mean, you can say the same about Marvel vs. Capcom. Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is still being made and adding characters with a mod team. Modders are finishing that game. They're making it better. And I think I think more companies need to hire these modders, and they will. I mean, you could even see. I mean, there was a thing that came out the other day with Rockstar. Rockstar have hired a bunch of modders for the online,
Hmm.
and they've said that they're going to allow certain modding practices in certain instances and actually help develop the game through that. And I think a lot of people aren't talking about it. They need to talk about it. I think honestly that'll be the next thing that IGN or whoever will talk about a lot more. It'll come up. It will do. Mark my words. It'll come up a hell of a lot more over the next couple of years. Modding will be this ultimate thing where it won't be seen as like a. To me, I think a lot of people see modding almost as like a piracy type thing, and it's not. It's just like we care about the game so much that we want to like almost shape it along with the dev team. We want to like give you an idea as two heads are better than one, but 1,000 heads is better than 100. Unless you say that too many cooks is an issue. It's just depends on
Hmm.
how much power you give the cooks is what I think is the issue there.
I think you're
Modding
right,
is
Jay.
it's crazy right now, and it needs to be more heralded. I think.
I think you're right, Jay, in that there needs to be a lot more discussion around it
Mm.
and
Needs to
an
be talked about
awareness
way
of it.
more, way more. Yeah.
I do also think that there is I think ultimately at the moment it's a commercial reality in regards to publishers, funders, and developers and how long they're able to get on these games, how long they are funded to work on these games. And I think the fact that modders work on these games out of pure love and passion and for free a
No
lot of the
money.
time
Yeah, for free.
means that they can work on it. And at the end of the day,
Yeah, it's for passion, not for
developers
money.
have
It's
to,
different.
yeah,
Yeah.
and developers either they either leave the game because they have to, or they leave it because they have to work on other things, or whatever it might be. I just think that maybe okay, I'm sure there are some instances where um maybe Bethesda could have worked on Skyrim a little bit more, just to work out the bugs a bit more.
Yeah,
Maybe they should have done that,
I
but
don't think so. I think that helped with the marketing. I think people loved it because it was so janky.
sure, and I agree
Part of
with
the
you.
Bethesda charm.
I agree with you, and I think and like I know a lot of people say like, oh well, look at modders, they did this, they finished that. It's like, well, now we're getting into a really deep argument about art and when something's finished, right? Because if someone comes in and changes a couple of
Yeah,
mixing
yeah,
options
yeah,
on
yeah.
a System of a Down album and like, oh, I actually finished it now, I'm
It
like,
can modders can honestly make things probably 10 times worse. But
right,
as history has shown, if anything, they've if it wasn't for the modders on Cyberpunk, it would have never have claimed any of its uh what's the word like uh relevancy maybe. I don't think it would be anywhere near the same position it's in right now for modders. Wouldn't be close. I actually have two things to say.
mm,
One, I think an analogy you could make for modding versus like developers is that when a developers make a game, it's almost like going to a restaurant and getting a really fancy, well-made professional thing. But to me, modders is almost like homemade food. Like, what's the thing you're always going to come back to and love the most? I feel like that's partly a way you could look at it. There was a second thing, but I forgot what it was, so I'll come back to it. But yeah, that was sort of my initial through line. I was like, if someone's making something with love rather than being paid to, I'm sure the devs are obviously making it with love too. But there is that element of, oh, we have to get paid for this still, you know?
mm.
Like it's almost, I guess you could almost say it's a little bit um, like someone who's willing to get to the point where they can make money from something they love doing, but they're going to do it for free for as long as they can until it's a necessity of it, like until they know they're good enough where they can get paid, you know? And I feel like these there should be almost like a forum for like modders to like apply to get hired or something.
I
I
mean,
don't
I
know,
know
almost
Bethesda have
almost like a
hired a lot of
competition
modders,
maybe,
maybe, but I
some sort
think
of
that
like Hunger Games style modding thing. I don't know, something like that.
the best mod wins, last voting
Yeah,
mod.
something like that. Like
The
who can
quote
improve something the best?
the Dark Knight quote from the Joker comes to mind here, where he says, "If you're good at something, never do it for free."
Yeah.
And that I think that applies to both the modders and the developers, frankly, where
Yes.
you know
Money always complicates things, dude. Always.
it really
It
does.
always it turns something so nice and lovely like art into this kind of grimy, almost like brothel-esque kind of
Yeah.
like transaction. Like it just feels like a dirtier thing almost,
But then, Jay, you could also argue that it puts under pressure, of which the art could never be as good
Yeah,
without that
there's now
pressure.
an expectation, right? If you don't get paid for something, there's no expectation because it's like, well, you did it for free, so you know. Whereas if someone's paid for something, there's an expectation for it to be a certain quality, and
Dude, can you imagine how much Starfield would have cost to make? I mean,
Oh, I know the budget. They've already
hundreds of
said.
millions. Have
Do I know
they?
the budget?
Yeah, go on.
Over 200 mil.
I actually thought it was gonna be more than that, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah. They
I thought it'd
said
be like four
200,
or
but
five hundred.
200 plus is what they've said for their budget.
Okay.
I think that's just for the development of the game. I don't think that includes marketing. So it's
Okay.
probably more.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
But we
Okay.
know that Saints Row, the new Saints Row reboot, I think was 130 mil. But that includes marketing, I think. So
That's a bit worrying, isn't it?
that is worrying. That's the reason why it had so much is because it was who's that group? Not Racer Group.
Embrace the group.
Embracer. There we go. Embracer are a multi-billion-dollar company. So we're like, here you go. We'll chuck a bunch of money on it. We know it'll make loads because it's Saints Row, so it'll make money. Like, no, that's not how things work.
Not when
But
it's
imagine
written like
spending
that.
almost as much as Starfield and not even being anywhere near popularity. Money doesn't always buy you quality. Let's put it that
If
way.
it's true that they made that with 200 mil, that really sounds like they're very focused and they know, like, do you know what I mean? It sounds like they're not
Well, you've
just
got to
throwing
think
money at it,
that's
you know?
7 or 8 years worth of probably like between 50 and 150 people's,
Well,
salaries.
probably more than that, but yeah, I get you. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Probably more. Yeah, that's a lot of people still. So
All right, let's move on.
yeah.
Also coming from Gamescom opening night live, Games released revealed a release date for action RPG Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. Is this the Atlas game, Jay?
No. So well, is it Alice?
No,
Or is it Bandai Namco?
Namkai Bandai.
Yeah,
Oh wait, what?
I forget who it is. You have to remind me. It should say, shouldn't it?
Yeah,
Oh no,
Games.
Games. It's just
Games.
Games is the same thing. No, I'm glad you mentioned Atlas because that brings me to this. So in February,
Yeah,
I think either first and second or second and third, there are
yeah.
two games releasing. There's Grand Blue, which is finally like the RPG type game we're getting from the series, and we're also getting the Persona 3 remake as well. So they're coming out within a day of each other, and that's the Atlas game that's obviously coming out. So
Sure.
I mean, you made a point to me when I brought this up to you the other day. You were like, I thought you weren't getting the Persona 3 game. I was like, well, I wasn't going to play the re-release on Game Pass because it's not the remake. I want the remake. I want the one that's more like Persona 5. I want the actual like properly updated, developed thing. I'm not going to play the old game. That's not how that works. And if I'm never going to play a Persona game unless it's made with the same quality as Persona 5 at this point. Let's put it that way. Like I'm not playing 4 until they do the remake. I'm just not. It's not happening.
No, I hear you.
Like let's say there's also that Persona Tactics game is coming out as well.
Persona 5
Day one,
Tactics. Yeah.
yeah, day
Tactica.
one Game
Yeah.
Pass. I'll be playing that as well. So
Awesome. Awesome.
I don't think I'll be playing it day one. I want to wait till there's guides. I want to be able to follow a guide.
So why are you excited
Same
for
with
this
Persona
game,
3,
Jay?
to be honest.
Is this just another
Yeah, Grand
RPG that
Blue.
you're
Well, Grand Blue is a mobile game. It's been out for like well over a decade. I think it's one of
okay?
the most popular Japanese mobile games ever. Like it's just been
Okay.
out. They also made an anime series as well,
Mm,
which I loved, and I was like, okay, I like both of these things. And so they've been talking about making like a more of a RPG kind of actiony game. Annoyingly, it's not turn-based, which is frustrating, but I mean that makes sense. With the way Japanese RPGs are going nowadays, they're all going to be action games at the end of the day. I don't think we're ever going to get a bloody turn-based game again, which is annoying. Um, but
I don't
yeah, I mean,
mind.
I think they announced they were going to be making this like 5, 6 years ago, so we've been waiting a long time. And like every year, we're like, are they going to show anything? Are they going to show anything? And they showed like one thing like 2 or 3 years ago. And since then, there's sort of been silence. So finally, they're doing it, and I'm
Okay.
just happy about it. It's a good IP. It's a great IP, and there's a lot more to explore there, I think. So I'm just happy about it. And same with Persona 3 remake. Like they're actually like they've been doing a lot of updates over the last week or so about things that added to the game to like improve it or whatever. And I'm very happy with what I've seen. So
Are they're doing that internally, are they? Persona 3
um
remake.
yeah, Atlas, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just wondering in terms of what they're working on. They're working on quite a lot then.
Yeah,
So
because they're also doing that other Persona style game. I forget the name of it. It's got a really weird name. It was like
right.
Project. had like a really weird like Project Megami or something, some sort of
Yeah,
Japanese
yeah,
name.
yeah,
But we got a trailer for it, I think, at the Game Awards, I want to say.
yeah, yeah.
Which I think
For
they're
E3, not
making that, and then they're
E3.
making Persona 6, I think is the idea. I think a lot of people are thinking, right, they'll finish that game and then they'll move on to Persona 6, is what
So
people
they
are
made
hoping.
Persona 5 the Tactics one, Persona
Yeah,
3 remake, and
yeah.
this new IP, and
And new
potentially Persona
IP.
6.
I think that's what they're going to move on to. Yeah, once these other games are released, they'll then move on to it, and hopefully Persona 4 remake as well.
It's a lot. There's a lot going on
They're
there.
they're doing a Capcom. They're doing a Capcom and just sort of like updating all their old stuff because they've noticed how Persona 5 was massive, and they're like, oh, we can get more out of this if we just do the same thing with 3 and 4. So I
Totally.
kind of hope they
Timing's
do a
ev
1 and 2 as well eventually.
Maybe those games are small enough they can do them in one too, like in
Yeah, they
one
could do it.
game.
They could do it as a double. Yeah, potentially.
Maybe. I don't I doubt they're 100 hours long, so
They're
I
pretty
could be
long. I
wrong.
mean, Persona 5 for me was exactly 100 hours long.
No, I know, but I was thinking more like one and two sort of
Yeah,
thing.
sure. Because they're older, they might not be as long. It's true.
Yeah. Yeah. Even if they're done
True.
in more of that style, I'm just
Yeah,
just spitting
they
off the
could
cuff.
condense it. They could condense it. Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah,
Uh
February is going to be another good month. February is always a good month for gaming. January
another
and December are usually pretty dry, but February is like, right, go, and we started.
another premiere trailer from Opening Night Live, Jay, one that you really wanted to come out, I think. Killing Floor 3.
Well, I'm fairly excited about it because I played Killing Floor 2 a lot, like a lot. And I know soundtrack wise, it's just all heavy metal, like super heavy, like Doom. Like it's much like Doom Eternal, but like heavier, like grosser, like more gruesome. In
Cool.
the same way that the game is just so gory, it makes sense to have that.
Cool.
And so I'm hoping that 3 will be similar. Although from what we've seen of 3, it looks like they're going a more futuristic route. Like 2 seemed like very like grounded and sort of like grimy and kind of like dirty and like very I guess of the time. But now, yeah, this Killing Floor looks a bit more like they're trying to do a bit more of the futuristic thing, which I'm always worried about when games kind of do that kind of neon kind of cyberpunky kind of futuristic thing, because you either get it right or you get it dead wrong. And a lot of games seem to be wanting to try to get it right, and they're not doing a very good job with it. So I'm hoping that they get it right. But Killing Floor have their own way of doing it, so I'm hoping it'll be good. I'm hoping also that it'll be Game Pass. I think they've got a bit of a relationship there, so that'd be nice. Although it's going to have to come out on PlayStation because it's Killing Floor, so they need to spread out definitely.
Was Killing Floor 1 and 2 like PS exclusive or something? Or
No, I just think they came out on both. So,
fine, fine.
but I know Killing Floor 2 has been out on. I think it's been out on PS Plus and Game Pass. I think so.
Okay. All right.
Just something to look
Okay.
forward to. Something to
Mm,
see what it's going to be like.
mm. Next up, Jay, something I haven't seen too much of and something I haven't really been paying much attention to. We've got here Xbox have announced via an Xbox Wire post the Starfield console wrap, which is basically solid core plastic panels, it looks like, that will wrap around your console. So instead of buying, say, a Series X style themed console, you can wrap this around it instead.
Yes, they've done multiple
Yeah,
designs, and this automatically reminded me of the remember the face plates on 360.
right, right.
That's kind of what they're going for. They're kind of going for a faceplate thing. The thing that worries me about this is the Xbox Series X is black, so it retains a lot of heat, which is why they have the fan at the top.
Mm.
Wrapping this thing up even more concerns me.
Well, they're not wrapping. You're not wrapping the top. You're not touching the
I
top.
know, but you're still wrapping the console. Like you're essentially wrapping it up in a blanket.
Well, in a way, but on the back bit, that you're not covering the back fans either. So I think all the
No,
ventilation
you're not
points
covering
are
any fans, but it's still technically insulating it more than it needs to, and that worries me.
fair enough.
I have a feeling we might start to see a bit more Series X's are getting too hot situation
Okay.
over the next year. Like people are going to buy these and be like, my Xbox is getting way too hot, especially next summer. It's going to affect it a lot.
It's kind of a cool way though to make your console and whatever be a bit more Starfield themed on the cheap though, right?
Yes, just to have a different skin. It's much like faceplates. It's like it's personalizing. Same with like faceplates on the PS5 now as well. Like you can change those around now as well. So Um, it's another way for them to make money, but I don't think it's that necessary, to be honest. I think it's a bit.
Well, Jane, I want to ask you my personal opinion on controllers that are themed to a game
Controllers
on.
I like. I think
Okay.
that's different, but
Okay, well, let's just pin in that just a second. On the console
controllers
side,
don't get hot.
I've never I've never wanted anything game related because for me, they're all temporary. The way the Xbox looks right now is not temporary, it's the way it's meant to look.
Mm.
If I put anything game related to it on there, it feels like I'm dating it and I'm limiting it.
Why are you limiting it by dating it? That's weird.
Because for instance, I remember going around Tyler's and he had a Halo Reach controller and I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool." Except it came out like a year and a half before and now you've just got this controller that looks like it's cool for an old game and it didn't appeal to me at all. Whereas an Xbox controller, even an old one, is just timeless.
Yeah, I
It,
guess you. I think you should look at it more as like a someone's look or like their fashion or their aesthetic, right? To me, I see it as it
mm,
more of like an accessory, like it's a watch that I wear to go out or a jacket that I have for a special occasion. Like it kind of feels like that, but more like just for yourself. Like I think part of the reason why is because it almost feels like a feminine trait, you know? Like a
right.
lot of females tend to buy themselves things that only they really look at, or they have buy so other people can look at. A lot of men tend not to do that. We just tend to just sort of, you know, we buy something and then that's just it, we use it for its purpose. But I think this is our way of expressing ourselves, whether it be just to make us feel better, or to be like to showboat, whatever it might be. But I don't think those reasons are necessarily not a great reason to do it, or for any reason of like timelessness. For me, it's more of like a nostalgia thing as well. Like it's just something like a memory. I think it's a great idea. Like if let's like you could even like customize a controller you have for like Jax 2. Wouldn't make any difference. If you love that game, then that's what you want to do. That's your thing. It just sort of puts the stamp on this is my thing. Don't care if you like it or not. I like it a lot, so it's for me, not for anybody else. But I can totally see where you're coming from. But yeah, for me, it would be like this is for me. It's not for anybody else. To make me feel better. To make me go, oh, isn't this cool? Like, oh, I love that game so much.
And to be fair,
Like if
to
Halo
your
Reach is
point,
your favorite game,
right,
your favorite Halo, whatever it may be, that's cool.
and to your point as well, who's going to come around mine to go on my Xbox?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
no
That
one.
doesn't happen nowadays.
Exactly,
That's
exactly.
like the Halo 2 days. We don't really do that anymore. We don't
just
do local co-op unless you're like married or something,
so how
or
do you
got a
see
girlfriend.
and in terms of controllers because it's not a performance related skin as it were, you don't
No,
mind as much, right?
it's an
Is that the
aesthetic thing.
right,
Yeah.
right, right, right.
I know I actually had a my PS4. I got the special edition. It was like the anniversary edition, I think.
Yes.
So it came with
Yes.
like a specially colored controller, which I thought was quite cool. Like I don't, that's more for me. I don't necessarily think that's anything special. I do actually plan on getting the Starfield controller for Xbox as well.
Me too. It looks really good, doesn't it?
It does, and it also comes weirdly. It comes with a special secret dynamic background.
What, what I was just about to ask you if we got one. So is that the only one available?
Yes. So for people who already have their controllers, they've been showing off. Oh look, if you hook up the controller to the Xbox, it comes with a secret background that you can download.
Oh man.
So yeah, I plan on getting that.
I not only do I think it's one of the best looking game related controllers in
Oh
general,
dude, yeah. The only thing I don't like about it is the fact that it's white. But I mean, that's part of the thing.
I also think that I need another controller, so it's a good
Me
excuse to
too.
get out of the shop.
Honestly, yeah. If I was like my Series X one, I feel like that's one of the bad things about Xbox is their controllers don't seem to last that long. But you could say the same thing about any console controller. The stick is always the first thing to go. That or the buttons, like the A button is usually the first thing to go because you're just tapping it constantly. Aren't
I don't know whether it's because we're playing games more than ever, Jay, but
you?
me and Al have we've discussed this before. Like not ours yet, but PlayStation controllers are going, Xbox controllers are going already. My white Xbox
They do it
controller's
on
gone
purpose. They
already.
don't they don't make them to the same quality, so that you have to buy them more.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It
I
is on
think you're right.
purpose. They're designed not to last. I think the consoles are designed to last a little bit longer, but not much longer. I think the consoles are designed to last the length of how long until the next one. So roughly
Mm.
7 or 8 years.
Don't you love how
Depends. It depends on how much
corporations?
you use it.
Yeah, don't
Actually,
you
if you
love
ask me, I reckon the
corporations?
consoles are actually designed to last 4 years, 3 to 4 years, so that you buy two across the entire span of a generation. They do it. They totally do it on purpose. They get twice the amount of money out of you. That's how they do it. But if you're
Right.
careful and you don't play it that much, you can make it last the entire generation, like me.
Sure.
That's the
Uh,
plan.
I think one of the last we have here, Jay. This is coming from. I'm just trying to look for the source here. I haven't got a clue where it's coming from. The Pokemon Company having conversations about its constant release schedule. Apparently having internal conversations, but I'm not. I'm just trying to look here, Jay. This is reported by IGN, but oh, here we go. Right. Comicbook.com spoke to the Pokemon Company COO.
Hmm.
So there we go. Sorry, you were
Yeah,
about
so
to.
the primary thing with this is I think they realized that uh, Scarlet and Violet definitely wasn't to their quality standards they would have liked. The game doesn't run very well. It's still pretty jittery.
It runs well on PS2 though, doesn't it?
Excuse me?
Carry on, carry on. Oh, sorry. I thought it's on PS2. Is that not its native console?
I mean,
No.
would you make the same comparison with Buddy Zelda? I guess you would, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Carry
That
on.
still runs at 30, but then again, so does Starfield, so there we go.
Ah!
Um, yeah, so I'm glad about this because their recent release schedule seems to be like 2 games every year, which I think they're still going to try and do. I just think they're going to hopefully spend a bit more time on the visuals over the next 10 years, I think is the plan. Hopefully, they're going to try and slow things down a little bit and maybe try to make it a bit more to what their standards are. I think they definitely dropped the ball a little bit on their recent iteration. It's funny, I still think Legends Arceus is the best Pokemon game they've released. It's not even close. Like especially for that, this at least for the Switch generation. Maybe you could make a comparison for the DS generation and the 3DS generation. But I think it's actually been they did a recent poll about the current popularity poll on which is the best Pokemon game ever released, and I still think Arceus beat it out by like a lot. I think they nailed it with Arceus. I think they need to go more that direction, like where you can actually throw the Pokeball. Like that you can't
Right.
do that in any other game apart from Arceus. Like it's insane. Like Arceus is so good of a game. It's genius. So yeah, this is a good direction, a good step in the direction that we want. I think Pokemon game fans are a little bit bummed out. I think in some instances, maybe I don't know. There's speculation about what games they do drop a lot of hints as to what game they're going to try to release next because we think they're going to do a remake of a couple of the old ones, hopefully. So I think I've already got a good idea what they're going to do, and I'm very happy about it. So let's go. Lots to look forward to, Pokemon wise. And the DLC comes out in September, which I don't think I'm going to get. I don't think, but we'll see.
Not even when it's on sale,
Oh,
or
that's one thing I was going to say to you, wasn't it? I recently I completed the Pokédex on Scarlet, so
mm,
I spoke to you about that, didn't I?
you
Took me
did.
about a week and a half. That's
Was it?
obviously
Did you
after I'd
enjoy?
already played the game for like 100 hours. So
Did you enjoy it?
yeah, it was pretty fun actually. I got very lucky. I had to go on Discord and ask some people to help me, which was a bit scary, getting some strangers to help me, but they were nice, so that was all right.
We're in a modern age, Jay. We're in a modern.
Dude,
I've
never
dude.
ever underestimate people online. They can always fuck you up.
I think that's true.
I've been fucked over a number of times. It's not fun.
I think I've still got some friends added on my friends list who helped me get one of the
Yeah, me too.
Borderlands 3 DLC achievements
Yeah,
from
got
DLC
quite a few
2.
people on PlayStation who helped me with certain things.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what they play occasionally too. That's quite interesting.
Hmm.
I'm like, I think one of them was on Fallout 4 the other day, and I was like, okay,
Yeah, that is it. When you make friends online or like on whatever, and you're like, oh, they playing that? Oh, that's interesting. Okay. I got a couple of people who only play Destiny too. Like that's the only thing they
oh,
play.
grow up.
I got quite a few people to help me on Destiny, and they were yeah, that's all they play.
Jay, a
Hilarious.
couple of bits before we wrap up. A few things. I was just checking some news feeds to check if I wanted to discuss anything.
Please.
First thing I wanted to discuss, Jay, is it me or will
You're looking for?
Bulletstorm won't die?
I
It
guess
just
not. It's not that good of a
every
game, to be honest.
dude every year at some presentation, I'm like. I guess I'm looking at a Bulletstorm trailer again.
I
Like,
feel like I haven't seen it that much. I think that might just be you.
I'll contend that when I saw the VR trailer, I was like, how is this game still bouncing around?
Yeah,
What is
it is a
going
weird one.
on?
That game should have died a while ago. It's not
Oh
that good
my
of
god.
a game. Like I thought it
I
was
don't
fine, but it's like it's not that good of a game.
no. Also,
It
I've
needs to be.
heard
I think it might have sold really well. And that's probably why they're still doing stuff.
well, I guess that's why, right? I guess that's why.
Yeah, I don't even know what company made that. Do you remember? Like I know that every so often I'll see like from the developers of Bulletstorm. I'm like I forget their name every time.
People can fly.
Right. Okay. Fair enough.
The people who made Outriders.
Yeah. That makes sense. That seems like the correct progression for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. The other thing I wanted to bring up, Jay, there's a announcement from Xbox Store or Xbox.com, July 29th, 2024. Xbox will be shutting down the 360 store. It is the
Yeah.
end
It makes
of an era.
sense. But I think thing is the PlayStation community managed to get that redacted for the PS3 store.
So
PS3 store is still up.
you reckon if people put up enough of a fuss, they'll keep it alive
Yeah,
or
PS3 I think was meant to go down 2018, I think 2019, and then they were like enough of the community members were like we're not letting that happen. So Sony were like okay, we'll bring it back. Fine.
well, to be fair, part of that issue as well, Jay, was that they had a lot of games locked to that PSN because they haven't got backwards compatibility like Xbox does.
Yeah,
So that
exactly.
was a
It's
real
different
fucking
for
issue.
PlayStation. I think because of backwards compatibility, it's not as much of an issue. For Xbox. I wouldn't mind seeing it go, but uh, I think it kind of helps with physical preservation, doesn't it? Like people are more willing to look for physical copies now.
I guess so. I guess so.
So I think in that instance, I think it's probably a good thing.
And the other
I'm
thing
not
I
I'm
want,
not I'm
oh,
not fussed either way, to be honest. I don't really care about it. It's like if they got rid of
no,
the
I
Xbox
agree.
One store, I'd still be like, fine, yeah, cool.
I agree. And I think there's some fun. Like if you got the absolute compulsive urge to play Singularity next week, I think there's some fun in trying to find
You'll
a
find
physical
it. You'll
copy.
find it. Yeah, you'll find it.
Yeah,
They're
I
everywhere.
think that's quite fun
It's
sometimes.
sold enough physical copies for you to be able to find one.
Exactly. Another quick thing, Alan Wake 2 release date, I think pushed back a week or so. It's now releasing on October 27th, which is
Yeah,
really cool. A few days before Halloween. Or yeah.
this is Halloween. Yeah, I
Uh
guess if you bring
have
up that, I
you
guess you could also mention that AC is being brought out a week earlier,
right.
October
Just
5th,
very
I think.
yeah, you're right. Just one very quickly, Jay. You still not excited about Alan Wake 2 yet? You're not sold on it
No,
yet?
I
Fine.
won't be
Okay.
for a long time. It might be one of those games, a lot like Days Gone, where I'm like, oh, I'll play it in like 5 years.
Fine. Okay. And
I'll play
Ace
Alan Wake. I've got Alan Wake remastered, so I might play that and then play two later
dude, AC a week early. What are we saying? What
on. Frustrating because I'll probably
because you
still be
booked it off?
playing. So, no, I haven't booked anything off.
Because you still be playing Starfield. Okay.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what I'll be playing. Hopefully it'll come in just in time. Like I'll literally finish Starfield beginning of October and be like, right, straight into AC. And
Mm,
then as soon as I finish AC, straight into PS2. Spider-Man 2. That comes out 20th October.
sure. Sure.
But obviously, like, thing is, though, I'll have Cyberpunk at some point to play between that then and now as well. So, like, I've got like 4 or 5. Actually, I think I've got about 7 or 8 games I want to play between now and end of October. Kind of insane. I've got lots to do. But I'd rather have too many games to play than not enough. So,
Sure.
yeah.
I think that's fair. I think
Mm,
that's everything, Jay. Oh well, no, actually, I do want to discuss Assassin's Creed very quickly.
please.
The last time I remember a game being bumped up, I think was maybe Shadow of Mordor for me. It got bumped
Oh,
up
for
like
you
a couple of weeks.
specifically.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
so
it doesn't usually happen, of course, in games because they usually get delayed. But Jay, I'm just hoping that I don't need this game to be a 9 out of 10. I don't even need it to be an 8 out of 10. I need it to be a solid, polished
no.
AC
I need it.
experience that's like 30 or 40 hours that I'm going to play hopefully near launch, hopefully. And it goes
Yeah.
over the Christmas period and I have a great time with
I'd
it and
say
we can move
I'm
on.
potentially going to leave it until Christmas. I might, honestly.
Really.
It might be a really, really good Christmas game. Yeah.
And there'll be fixes as well.
Because yeah, it'll be
So
fixed a bunch, and also there'll be updates to it, and also we'll have guide. Well, I don't know if I need a guide, but there'll be guides for it as well.
I'm assuming there won't be DLC for this since this is a glorified DLC,
I would like
right?
to think there'd be at least one small one.
Okay.
That would be nice. I'm hoping
Did
they'll
you
do like a story. Whether I mean, it'll probably be included in the game, whether they'll do something between the fact that what's the name of the character again?
Basim?
Basim. There'll be a thing where Basim travels to England. I think there'll be a
Hmm.
either that'll be at the very end of the game, or that'll be part of the DLC. Probably that'd be nice.
Either way, I'll be honest, guys. I know this is going to be a lower price point, so we shouldn't expect a long game. But if this game is literally 30 or 40 hours, that is perfect for
I'm
me.
glad that they've realized that 30 or 40 hours, or 20 to 30, 40 hours, whatever it may be, means that the game should cost less.
Yes,
As
that's
far as
true.
I'm concerned, if a game's 100 hours or expected to be 100 hours, it should cost 70. If it's
Yeah, of
expected to be a lot
course.
less, it should cost between 40 and 50. I think
But
people are pricing them way too high still.
that's true. And this is still a lot cheaper than Miles Morales, so which is probably similar length.
What
So
was
we'll
Mars was
see.
55, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
And
50, 55.
I think Mirage is what 45 basic, 50 50 or 55 deluxe,
I think so,
something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So
So unless it's only 20 hours with like every achievement and all the
I think it's
collectibles,
30 with everything. I think it's 20 base and then 30 with everything.
I mean, we might still be playing Starfield, but I'll be honest, like, will I pay full price for that? Maybe. If I'm
What
honest,
for
Jay, I'm
full price for what?
Mirage.
Oh,
I'm
I've
just
already pre-ordered
thinking,
it.
right, okay.
I've
I'm
pre-ordered
just
that and I pre-ordered
thinking
Cyberpunk as well.
that that's nice to get them ticked off. I'm just thinking in terms of Mirage, Jay, because the game's so small or smaller, I'm thinking that if I pay for it, I will make a conscious effort to get my money's worth and play everything with it, if that makes
Yeah, that's
sense.
true. I don't think it's going to go down in price until at least a year from now.
Yeah,
I
okay.
reckon you'll be able to buy the base game for 35 in a year from now, and the deluxe will be 40. It won't be much of a difference.
I definitely want to own it.
Can't be.
I'm just I mean, I still might be playing Starfield, but it'll be a nice little like I just like the fact it's going to be hopefully only 30 hours. I'm just like, yeah, great.
It does. It kind of reminds me of like Revelations or something, like
Right,
Brotherhood.
exactly.
Yeah, and they were
Exactly.
perfect. They were perfectly timed. So yeah,
Exactly.
Brotherhood and Revelations were two of the best ACs, hands down.
If you
So
were like if you were releasing Mirage this year, Jay, and you were like, yeah, it's a 200-hour Valhalla, I'd just be like, no,
I'd be
no,
excited. I'd be excited. You know me. You know me. I'm 100 hours. Like 100
min,
hours is like a perfect amount of time for me.
sure.
I love 100-hour
For the
games.
right game.
They're lovely.
I do
Just so
think, oh,
nice.
one thing I want to say quickly was that I'm hoping, Jay, that because I know we've had the DLCs for Valhalla, but I'm
Mm,
really hoping that because of this whole timeline with the recent releases for AC, that the next one, which I think is the Japanese one, has really had a lot of time to stew. Because if we're going by dates, Odyssey came out in 2018, right?
mm.
And that was Quebec. I know they made loads of DLCs that were fucking huge,
Dude, they
but
were the best.
what was it, like six DLCs or so? It was mental.
Yeah.
No, what was it? Yeah, I think it was. But technically speaking, they would have had what 5, 6 years maybe to develop this next big game. So it just makes me hopeful about the next installment.
Yeah. I'm actually, what's funny, I'm actually looking more forward to the witch one, the sort of
Right,
voodoo kind of
German
witchy
trials.
German one. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm more looking forward to that than I am the Japanese one. Because I'm kind of a bit disappointed with the Japanese one in that I feel like it's too late. Like they should have missed it. They should have missed it.
boat sailed. Yeah,
Yeah, they should have just gone straight to the German one and done something else. They should have done like Africa or Australia or India or
oh,
somewhere else. I don't know.
they would have been
I think
amazing.
I think Japan makes sense just because of the whole ninja assassin thing, but it's just a bit it's way too late for that.
I agree
I'm
with
sure it'll
you.
be great, but we'll have to wait and see.
I would have preferred Africa or Australia, like you
Who
say.
knows? Maybe it'll be better than Odyssey. Odyssey's still number one, but it's I genuinely don't think anything's going to beat it anytime soon. It can't do. Odyssey is
We'll
like
see.
Odyssey is the Baldur's Gate 3 of the AC series.
I do not have time to unwrap this that statement right now. So
I'll give you that just to let you like stew on that for ages and
yeah,
like that's
exactly.
gonna completely like mess you up now.
Right, Jay, let's talk about what you've been playing and or will play.
Okay.
So we've covered Gamescom, I think.
Yeah,
So
just
you've
about.
got here TCSM?
Yes,
TCSM?
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Ah, okay. Please.
That is my latest day one release play. Played it on the Friday it came out, August 18th, I think. It is a underrated game. It is amazingly well. done. Like there is some bugs for some people, but I think it's primarily on PC. I don't think on console it plays really, really well. The community is amazing. I follow both of the Reddit subreddits that are there, and they're very, very nice people. The devs are like on top of it when it comes to updates and like fixing things. Like they read the Reddits and the Discords and everything, and they're like, oh, we should fix that, we should fix that, fix that. They're really good about that kind of stuff. And the actual content of the game maybe isn't as jam packed as a lot of other multiplayer only games. But I think if you're willing, it almost feels a little bit like you kind of need to play it with other people. But I've been playing it solo and it's been fun regardless. So I think it's one of these games you can play for a decent amount of time and have a lot of fun with. Graphically, it's a little bit more cartoony than you would think, but that plays as a pro rather than a con. I think if it was more realistic, I think it probably wouldn't play as well. Like it's surprisingly it plays 60 frames very, very well. At least I think it's 60 frames. It feels like 60 frames. Don't even know to be honest, but we'll see. You're showing the trailer, or are you just watching the trailer?
Just showing it.
Okay. This
Why
feels
you
weird.
talk?
I feels like it's like on my screen, but like
What's your
yeah,
screen
no.
right now? Like, can you
I
see
can
me
just
and
see the
you?
trailer, yeah.
Can you see me and you?
I can see you, but I can't see me and you.
I can't see either of us.
Okay. It's not like the cleanest thing, but it's fine.
Oh, is it a bit laggy? I'll.
Yeah, it's fine though. I'm
Nah,
actually
it's
just
all right.
curious what you think.
Of the game,
I kind of wish you'd like play like at least a game or something. I think you'd be interested.
dude. I'm not against playing like a game. It's just bad timing for me. Like, I wouldn't be
Of
against trying
course.
this game
Of
out.
course. Let's put it this
For
way.
a
I think
couple
this
of
game
games.
has a reasonable amount of longevity to it. Because they said they actually brought out a thing. um, so that there's a lot of lore in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies.
Sure.
And they've added a lot of Easter eggs and a lot of like references to things. But one of them they've done is there's actually like a special newspaper in the movies that is referenced to a lot, and they've used that as their like update window. So they've got like this like weekly or like
That's
monthly
cool.
like newspaper thing where they're like, right, here's all the things we're going to add to the game, here's all the things we're going to fix with the game, stuff like that. So sort of like a Destiny 2 style kind of update, like like a combat cast for the Mortal Kombat games kind of thing. Like they talk to their community a lot. Is what I'm saying. They're sort of like they're willing to support the game for a decent amount of time if they want to. So I think they
That's
said
cool.
18 months. I think 18 months what they said. They try and add 18 months onto it.
I always like it when, dare I
There's like
say, we'll call
cosmetics
it
and
a
stuff,
micro community is around a new game. I think that's really cool.
and there's
You
no
know,
battle pass, so that helps.
that's also cool.
The game is obviously Game Pass, but you can also buy the game for 35 quid if you want to as well. So fairly cheap for a multiplayer online only game.
Dude, there's nothing wrong with having a couple of games like that, you know,
I'm trying to think how long I've
pass
played it
away.
for. I think I've played it for like 20 hours or so, maybe.
Are you going for like all the achievements or
I've gone for that's the thing. Half the achievements are for playing as the family, and half are playing as the victims. I don't like playing as the victims, so
okay?
I'm not going to be able to get all the achievements if I wanted to. I've gotten like a quarter of them.
Is there any that
Some of them
stand
are
out
pretty
where you're
hard.
like, oh no, I'm not doing that?
Well, there was one that I told you about where you had to kill all the victims as just you in one match.
Right.
So you have to kill all four, and I managed to get it with like one of the hardest characters to do it with. So I was pretty happy about that. I didn't think I'd
So,
ever get it, but I got it by accident.
so you've also got to beat the other family members to killing.
Exactly. And I did
Right,
it with the
right.
character that's like least likely to do that as well. So the other guys must have just been really bad. That's what I'm saying. But
So I assume because it's not 4v1 or 5v1, I
no, it's
assume
three v four. Yeah, it's
the
interesting.
victims are nearly as powerful or more, or like, do you know what I
That's the
mean?
thing. Like on the Reddit at the minute, people are talking about, wow, these are really overpowered, these are really underpowered. But to be honest, this might be one of the most balanced multiplayer games I've ever played. Day one, I'd say I think they've probably beta tested the hell out of this game. Like it is super, super balanced. It's like actually kind of like makes me feel a bit gross. I was like, oh my God, like this is like the kind of quality I'd expect from like any other multiplayer game, or that you'd hope for, but for some reason that they never seem to get there. They seem to always be way underbalanced or overbalanced or whatever it might be. But this is yeah, I'm very surprised at the quality of this game. I think you could probably look at this game and go, oh, it's on Game Pass. It's probably not that good of a quality, but dude, it's up there. It's up there. And to top it off, they've had over 1 million people play the game already.
That's good.
So that includes sales and just Game Pass, I imagine. I can't imagine they got that many sales,
Mm.
but in terms of like people who have at least downloaded it and tried it, at least it's close to 1 million from Game Pass. So I'm pretty sure it's on PlayStation as well. So yeah, if they include both,
Can't
it's got to
confess
be at least
something,
half of
Jay.
that. It's got to be sales at least.
You'd hope. Well, I don't know with Game Pass.
Maybe
Can I?
300K. It's hard to say.
Sure. I've got to say, Jay, with I keep hearing we keep getting news stories about, Forza Horizon 5 has hit 13 million players or whatever it might be, or Ground has hit, whatever. If I'm
Yes.
honest, Jay, I get why they do it. I just feel like it's um
Redundant?
yeah, completely
Why is it
nutterly.
redundant?
Because to me, it's a bit like saying this mobile game's got 20 million players. Well, 10 million people played it for 10 seconds
Sure.
or, you know, whatever it might be. I don't
Well, I feel
think the
that's
case
kind of
I don't
rhetorical, is it
think,
not?
well, I don't think it's that bad with console games. But for instance,
I
let's
think it
say
could be.
Texas Chainsaw, it could be Texas Chainsaw Massacre hit 1 million players, right? But then we know some of the stats because we can look at the achievements and how long people play and that sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
So we've got some sort of indication of how long people play games. And we both know that a lot of the time, especially with games like Call of Duty, like a lot of players don't even touch the surface of some of the stuff.
Yeah.
So when they come out with statements like that, I'm just a little bit
Well,
like, that's
I've actually
great,
got an
but
example of that because of the only people on my friends list who have played it, there's been two other people who have played it. And I think they've only played it for like 2 and 3 hours.
right,
So they put a decent amount of time. They put enough time in as like they put a demo amount of time in, you know.
right, right.
Like, oh, I'll download a demo, I'll try it for maybe an hour, two, three. If I like it, maybe longer. And been like, well, okay, I can see where the loop is. It's a multiplayer game, and I can't see myself wanting to keep going on the loop. Like, there's not enough for me to, there's not like a battle pass or a level up system or whatever it might be. Like, if there isn't enough of that, but I think this game has a little bit of that. They just don't have the battle pass system. They literally just have like a skill tree system essentially. So, and they do have cosmetics, but they said they were going to add more of those over the coming year or whatever. So to wait and see. But I do think this game will probably be talked about for at least a little bit longer. I think it might get overshadowed by the next lot of releases over the next 3 months. I'm hoping it's still around. I'm hoping that I'll be able to play it in like 4, 5, 6 months time and still come back to it and be like, oh, this is still this they've added this to it or whatever. I'm hopeful at this point. I think it's I don't know what the rating of it is actually. I don't know what it reviewed. I'm tempted to have a look what IGN reviewed it 'cause I think it might be higher than you think. I'm curious now.
I'm
Let's
gonna
say we did.
say 7.
I think it might be either 7 or 8. So
I don't know. I'm just guessing.
ask game. Got a 9 out of 10 on Steam. What did IGN give it? That's the question though. I mean, people on Steam seem to be liking it.
People on Steam like everything. Come on.
Oh wow, only got a 6 out of 10.
Ooh, rough.
Wow, that is rough. Why
If
did it
only
only get
IGN had
six?
credibility, hey?
I know that's actually kind of disappointing from them. I think that's actually criminally underrated. Like
Oh well, Jay, don't
criminally.
worry because every Mario and Zelda
I
game's a
think it's
10 for
seven
sure.
minimum.
So don't worry.
7 minimum.
Sure.
That's actually kind of
So,
disappointing.
shall we? Have you got anything
Oh,
else you
well.
want to discuss, Jay, in terms of
Well,
what you've been
I was
playing?
just going to quickly mention the features they added to Cyberpunk. We didn't get
Oh
round to
yeah,
that, did we?
please. Yeah. Go.
A dangerous new district. That's obviously the DLC itself. It's like a whole new district.
Wait,
Dozens of new.
hold a minute. Sorry. So they're adding the district, but there'll be certain quests and storylines that are just part of the DLC.
Dozens of new story quests and gigs. That's the next line.
But is that
So
included in the
yes,
DLC or is that?
so the DLC. I think these are all the things that are being added to the DLC, but only some of these are being added to the update. I think.
I understand. Okay.
So yeah, new district, dozens of new story quests and gigs, vehicle combat and mounted weaponry. Yes, like fucking Twisted Metal or like Death Race level
That's a
of like
huge
adding machine
feature.
guns to
Fuck,
your buddy.
Jesus.
Yes, this one I think is the one that people were most excited about. Revamped police system. So the
Okay.
police are much more like GTA now, but you can get stars. Like the police actually come after you. They don't come after you in the game at the minute. You can shoot a policeman, they'll come after you, but not really. Like you do, there is a star system at the minute, but it's like not that great.
Okay.
Now they've added like an actual like if you go higher level stars that you're going to get shit on basically. Combat AI overhaul. That's pretty decent. So
Okay,
the AI is probably a lot more better than it was.
sure.
Endless dynamic events and missions. So probably some sort of like event system where there's like a thing that comes up on the map and you can just like go and kill a bunch of people. It's like an end, like can be like a daily thing almost. It's kind of almost like an MMO. It's kind of how I imagine it. Like a
Okay.
raid or like a thing on Diablo where there's like an event that just happens on the hour or something.
Oh, because I heard
Um,
that like there'll be more dynamic events within missions that you do.
Maybe, yeah, it could be. It just says endless dynamic events and missions. It could be included too.
Oh, okay, okay.
Redesigned cyberware and perks. So they've added a like so okay, you may not know this, but on the perk skill tree, there's like a blanked out bit at the bottom. They've now filled in that blanked out bit. There's a whole new added skill tree thing. And they've also so on the skill tree there's like little pictures that show you what the perks are. They've added a bunch of the anime picture characters into those perks.
That's cool.
So that's cool for the fans at least.
So
Yeah, they
the
actually showed off a bunch of the new like things you can do with perks and cyberware as well. It all looks really, really cool.
so that bottom bit they've always been planning to fill out. It sounds like at
I
some
think
point.
so. Yeah, I think it was deliberately they were going to add that as DLC. All new relic skill tree and ability. So, like I said, the whole new thing. Increased level cap. Now that interests me because I hit max level like super quick in the game. So
Mm.
I'm hoping it's from 50 to 100 or something like that. 100 plus new items, weapons, cyberware, and fashion. Decent. So some of that, most of that, I think is going to be update 2.0. But I think the only things that DLC wise are going to add is the whole new area and missions. So
Okay,
you
fine.
basically get a whole new game for free. I can't wait for you to actually play it.
One day, Jay. One day.
Yeah,
One day.
it probably won't be for the next couple of years, but it's whenever, you know.
It will happen. It
It'll
will.
be a
The
good
game.
time regardless.
Yeah, the game's too good for me not to play it. Put it like that.
Eventually,
So
I just think again it was just overly ambitious and it should have been marketed differently.
that's
It should have been framed differently.
you can definitely tell. I mean, some of those features are massive, Jane. You can tell how
They
much
give a
CD
shit.
Projekt
Yeah,
Red are wanting to sort of improve their
yeah.
image, shall we say,
You
from
got to
updating that
think if you're
game.
a dev who spent almost 10, 12 years making that game, and then it comes out and people shit on it, you got to think, hang on, I got to prove myself here.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
probably what they were thinking. They needed to prove themselves, and they seem like they're going to. So I'm just looking forward to new weapons. That's the one thing I'm looking forward to.
Because you want to master them, or
I just like new legendaries and cool weapons and stuff because there are like legendary loot weapons in the game. So I just want to see more of that.
that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, looking forward to
Jet,
it.
anything else you wanted to discuss on your side?
I guess quickly about Starfield. This isn't a spoiler. They on there
But
they're
you
doing a
die
lot
at
of
the end. No,
marketing.
God, sorry.
Yeah, they did a lot of marketing for the game recently, obviously because the game's coming out soon. And one of the things they showed up on their Twitter was like they did a link to their website, and on their website you can look at the whole timeline of like the universe of Starfield. So like when certain characters joined like certain things in the game and everything. So it sort of gives off a bit more backstory, a bit more lore to the game. I just thought that was
That's
quite
nuts.
interesting. Maybe if you want to look at that, maybe you don't want to look at it. Maybe you don't really want to know any information.
I'm very if I can speak to you about it very quickly, Jay. Well, not quickly.
Mm.
We can do what we want. Um, I'm conflicted right now because on the one hand, I'm so excited. I do want to check some things out, and I know the game's big enough that I'm not going to go in and go, oh well, I knew this 20, like because the
Yeah,
game's fucking
I
huge.
can't do any research necessarily because there's nothing to research. Like nothing's come out. Like there's nothing
Well,
that's really leaked
I was going to ask you
crazy.
this because
So
I'm
I probably know
assuming
about as much as you do, to be honest.
ah,
Not much
I'm
more,
assuming
honestly.
they're releasing everything purposefully and nothing sort of going out there
Very
without their
purposefully.
say so. So it does make me wonder whether checking
They
everything out they've released is quite safe to check out, I
It's
suppose.
probably a good thing you haven't checked out Gamescom because they showed off the first 30 to 40 minutes of the game at Gamescom. Not to the public, but like if you were at Gamescom, you could watch someone play the first 30 or 40 minutes. Um, and Todd sort of gave away like the sort of beginning of the game essentially. So if you didn't watch any interviews with him, you're probably like, oh sweet, I don't know anything. But if you did, you're like, oh, I probably would have liked to have known that later. But it's the beginning of the game, so it's whatever. You
Mm.
know.
They always do that, Joe. I'm assuming because of the size of the games, they always feel like the safest bit to present is the start because everyone's going
Yeah,
to experience
everyone's
it,
going to get there right away. Yeah,
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
feel like even if you did know it, I don't think it would spoil it. It just sort of like would have been nice to have found it out on day one rather than day minus 10 or whatever.
So that's interesting you put it like that. So as in Todd has mentioned some things in interviews which you feel as though you would have liked to know.
He kind of let something slip. But I didn't know if he. I think he intentionally meant to. I think he was like, this sort of helps with maybe people who are on the fence. But I'm cool with it. It's whatever. Or whether it might have even been like a red herring. I don't know.
Okay. Well, yeah, I don't know, Jay. As I say, the game's big enough that I don't think I'm going to see a couple of YouTube videos about their lore and go like, "Oh no!" And I do
Yeah,
think
well,
it would be
I
quite
think if you checked out this
beneficial.
timeline, I think it probably would make you think. It might make you look at the characters that you know who you're going to be talking to a lot. Like in the same,
Right.
like who are some of the famous NPCs from Fallout 3? Would you say?
I
Like the
don't know
people you
why,
meet in
but
Megaton, right?
yep.
Like I
Is
feel
it
like
Oasis as well?
yeah,
And
Oasis. I feel like the information they've given out so far with this timeline is a little bit like that. It's like just giving you some information about the NPCs they know that that you're going to be companions with, I guess.
sure.
Like like basically the main characters of the main story. They've sort of given you a little bit of their backstory and sort of the timeline of like wars happening and the reason why there's like a federation and all this kind of stuff.
Oh,
Like
dude, that
basically
makes me feel like Mass Effect. Oh,
it basically gives you like the background of Mass Effect, like the reason why there's even this sort like it literally gives you like how we found out the reason why the Mass Effect is even a thing,
yeah,
like the
sure.
jumping system. It's basically at that level of details, really. Like it's enough to sort of make you go, hang on, that's cool to know that because that might give me indication as to why the reason why the space thing is even happening in the first place. So I think it might actually be beneficial for you to potentially you just look at the timeline and see if there's anything you're like, ah, oh, maybe too much, maybe not. I don't know, whatever.
But there is
But I
some
think it's a good tidbit. It's a good
sure.
preamble. It's like reading a comic, like a preamble, like a like a prequel kind of comic type thing.
I do think though that I do think okay, well,
Because you might not even
question.
find out about a lot of that stuff in the game. Like it's something that you might not even
Sure.
find out in the game anyway. So it's not really a spoiler if it's
But
not even in the game.
if it's important to the game and it's part of the game, surely the game will tell me, right?
Not necessarily.
Inevitably.
Maybe they'll
Okay.
give it to you, but not in as clear cut of a detail as what they've given to you on as the timeline.
I get you.
There's probably
So
there's probably things where there's like massive blanks on both sides. Like the timeline gives you a finite amount of information that you'll find out a lot more about in the game, and the game gives you a lot more that you'd ever find out in the timeline.
I understand.
Yeah,
So how much of they I know they've released a
like a
few YouTube
companion
videos,
piece.
Jay, with lore videos and things. What
Did you
else have
watch the
they
45-minute gameplay thing?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm surprised you watched that. They give that a lot of information.
Yeah, no, but dude, that was like one of the best presentations I've ever seen. So
Yes, if not one of the if not the best I've seen. I think
yeah.
it's
Um
insane.
no, I was just curious how much have they released? So I know they've released a few YouTube videos about lore, have and this timeline. Have they released much more than that?
It literally is. Here's this character. Here's sort of like their mini backstory,
Yeah.
and here's why they are even there. And that's literally about it. They're like, here's their name, here's who they are, and here's why they're there.
Okay.
And it's not even that. I think it's literally only four characters. Put the main four characters of the game.
I do feel though in this instance, research on a new IP for a Bethesda game could be beneficial because there's going to be a lot of
Yeah,
information overload for the first 10
to be
hours. I
honest, it
think.
might just give you a bit of a bit of more room as to be like, right, I can take in. I know that information already, so I don't have to think about it too much. Or I can just
Right,
sort of concentrate on something else. Yeah,
right,
I'd
right.
say it's fairly beneficial. Yeah, I think if there's any reason to ever do that, that'd be a good enough one.
Yeah, I think you could be
Definitely.
right. I'll have a think. Anything else?
I think that's it. I'm sure if there is something that we'll talk about it another time.
Okay.
We've already spoken for like what 2 hours at this point, so
I can't see any yeah, about that. Yeah, about that. Okay. Um let me discuss what I've been playing, Jay, and then we'll
please.
have you got a guess who's review this week
I
at all?
haven't. No,
That's cool.
I thought
That's
we'd
cool.
go for so long that there's not very much point.
No, that's cool. I'm easy. Well, I like playing it, but
I
it's
like.
up
I
to
just
you.
like talking about the industry and the news and stuff.
What? Well, Jay, guess whose review is part of who we are now. Okay, you can't
It
be
is,
flying
but
off.
you know, I feel like this is entertaining too.
Yeah, hopefully, maybe.
It's entertaining me.
Ah,
I'm
sure.
getting loads off my chest. It's great. Wonderful.
All right, Jay. So what have I been playing? So if I'm not Jay, you're gonna have to slap me around the face, dude. Have I talked about Days Gone on this pod?
I think so. No. I think you said you were playing it. I think the last thing you said to me and it wasn't on the pod, was about a female character in the game, which
Fine. Okay. I want to
I'm
give.
hoping that you the resolution to that.
Yes.
Have you gotten past it? Do you now know everything?
I'm. This is the
Oh, did you
full
finish it?
complete.
Please tell me
This
you
is the full
finished it.
complete package. I have. Wait, have I? Yes, I have.
I
I
hope
have
so.
platinum Days Gone.
Isn't it? Wasn't it easy? Surprisingly so.
It was
The
I
good
wanted to.
platinum though. It's pretty
It's a good platinum.
satisfying.
I need to give my full thoughts around the game, Jay.
Please,
So
it's
I've already spoken
amazing.
with Jay about this game
A little
and
bit, not a lot.
a little bit, a little bit. Jay knew I was playing it, right? So,
Yeah.
so what happened? I just want to give you guys the full backstory because you ain't going nowhere, right? You're this far in. So basically, L and J both finished Days Gone, and I think I
Yeah,
said on the pod
after it
before,
came
like
out, I bought it
after
in
it came out.
2019. I didn't play it until 2022, 2021, one of those years.
Mm.
So I played it a
And
couple
then I
years
remember
after.
Jay saying like, Nick, you should probably play this. You'll probably like it. And then I think
Yeah,
L said the
in my
same.
mind, it feels very you.
Sure.
It almost felt more of how I imagined The Walking Dead should have been.
Totally.
Like I feel like
Totally.
The Walking Dead took it a completely different way. Like this is how The Walking Dead should have been, I think, in my mind.
Definitely. And I think, oh, it's so difficult because this game exists in a period of games, especially PS4 exclusives, whereby
Yeah.
they're literally all 9 or 10 out of 10. And this game has flaws that those games don't. And I think because of those flaws and game design choices, that ultimately the game is very different. But I think that it's there's definitely enough good there to justify playing it. And just because it's not a 9 out of 10 doesn't mean you shouldn't play it. And I think that's basically what you guys said anyway,
I'd
frankly. It's
probably
fun.
give it like either an 8 or an 8.5.
I agree. I agree.
I mean, on
So
a good day, I give it a 9. On a very, very good day.
so I sat down one day. I can't remember what I was doing or why I started playing it really.
When
But
did you start playing it? Like a month or two ago?
yeah, no,
3 months
May.
ago?
I think it May.
Bloody hell.
End of
Taking me
May.
forever. But let's
I
put it
know.
this way. I couldn't have started that game and not finished it as quickly as possible after I found out the story. Like once I knew that part of the story, I was like, dude, I have to finish this right now. I was pissed. I was like, I have to finish this. Like, I literally finished it within like a week and a half, I think. I was like, I have to know. I have to know what happens. I think that's honestly the best thing about the game. Is the story captivated me right from the get go. I was like, oh my god, I have to know what happens.
Interesting.
It took
Okay.
so long to get there, dude. I was like, oh my god, come
So
on, just tell me if they do. Like, oh my god,
oh my god. Yeah. So I
I was on
sat
the edge of my
down one
seat every
day
day.
and I was like, I'm gonna play it for an hour and I'm gonna see how I get on. And if it doesn't grab me, it doesn't grab me. And if it does, it
An
does.
hour isn't good
And lo
enough.
and lo and behold,
It needed
I
longer than
think a
that.
few hours later, I'm still playing it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, fair enough. And then I keep playing it. And then I call up Hell and I'm like, I've got no idea why I'm playing this game still, but I'm
Yeah,
playing
because
it
it's a good
still.
game. It's well written.
And I think that the core mechanics and survival mechanics are really decent, and I think
They
that's what
are,
keeps me
yeah.
playing. Like needing to get petrol can be annoying, but I think is actually quite fun. And I think there's loads of different bits, and the fact that you have to build up strength to fight the hordes, which almost feels like end game content at this
It
point. It's
does, yeah. I died so many times at the beginning just because I
mm,
thought I was more powerful than I was, and I had to keep. You have to actually go quite far into the game before you can do most of the beginning content. To be honest,
totally.
yeah,
But the I
which
think
is good because it makes it feel more survival-esque, doesn't it?
yeah, it does.
Makes
It
you have to
does.
earn your power a lot more.
And as you can imagine, it is an actiony game, but also it is also a stealth game. And a quick
Yeah,
side note here for everyone: um, if you analyze, apart from Spider-Man, even though that has stealth too, most of AAA games coming out right now have a strong stealth element, and that is very
hmm.
interesting to me.
Does
I don't
Ragnarok
know. No,
did the first game?
no,
Oh, that's funny. I'm surprised.
that might be one of the only ones.
There you go.
But Last of Us
Senua has
is,
it,
Ghost of
right?
Tsushima is, Senua has it,
It's kind of.
From Software has it with Sekiro.
Yeah.
So there's loads of examples, but I don't know whether that's a Metal Gear Solid influence or like an Assassin's Creed influence.
Splinter Cell,
But a lot of games these days have a strong stealth. Even Wolfenstein has strong
Dishonored.
stealth mechanics. Dishonored. So I just thought that was really interesting. But
Yeah,
anyway, so I keep playing this game, and I don't really know why, but I'm enjoying it. And I actually kind of like how it reminds me of a PS2 game in a good way.
yeah, me
Like
too.
just doing missions,
It did feel
upgrading,
very
leveling
Metal Gear
up,
Solid actually. Now that you kind of put it that way, it
stealth.
felt
Like
almost more Japanese of a game than anything else
it's
in
the
some
stealth was
ways.
like fair, and
Yeah,
like it was cool. And then what's interesting, Jay, is that opposite to you, I played it to play it. I didn't play it for the story necessarily. I like the
I did.
characters, but
Hardcore.
I think personally for me, some of the performances were a little bit OTT. Um,
Uh,
and there were moments when Deacon, I mean, I don't know whether it's the character, but I'll give you an example.
please.
Like, so you'll get a radio in, and it's like, Deacon, it's Sir O'Brien here. I need your help with something. He's like, oh, Brian. Like, yeah, you go, Brian. Yeah, go on. And it's like, what the fuck did you just say? Like, he
To
has
me,
this
I thought that was what
constant
made it great.
mumbling.
No, I thought that's what made it great. I think that was his character. Like, I think you maybe have a little bit less of an understanding of his type of character.
Well, I don't know
Like,
whether
he's
he
a
was just
particular
losing the
type
plot
of
a bit
person.
and that's why he was talking to himself
Well,
all the
yeah, you
time.
also got to think like if you're in that situation, you're not going to be yourself.
I get that. I get that.
You have to become something else to live to survive, right?
I get that. Yeah.
So to me, if it was just an element of genius,
Mm,
I
I
actually didn't
didn't.
think it was OTT. I thought it was perfectly acted. I think it was. I think people should have won some
Wow.
awards for that stuff.
Interesting.
Seriously, I think if those actors had done that performance in a movie, it would have won awards.
Well, look,
I
don't
think
get
this
me
game
wrong.
should be a
I
movie,
think
by the way. I think they are making one, aren't they?
I
Or they
don't
said they were
know.
going to. Same with Death Stranding, they're making a movie, I think, as well.
I think that most of the acting was
I thought
phenomenal.
it was
To be
great.
fair,
Yeah,
it was
I
especially
thought
with
some
some of
people
the
did some really good
characters.
jobs. I mean,
So
what's his name? I forgot the name of the actor. He plays Darth Maul, doesn't he? He does the voice of Darth Maul, and he also did what's his
Trey
name out of Star
Parker,
Wars?
Trey
No,
Trey Parker, no.
no. Who's the guy who plays in Star Wars game?
Oh, him. The guy
What's the
who
name? Is it
voices Darth Maul.
something killer? What's the Star Wars killer thing?
Oh, oh, Jay, you are throwing me off, bro. I thought you were talking about the stuntman for Darth Maul. You're not. You're talking about the voice actor and actor of Starkiller from Force Unleashed
There we go. Yeah, he also does the voice acting for Darth Maul as well.
in the Clone Wars TV show.
Yeah, but it's very well received.
No, I know, but there's a different voice actor
It's
for the
actually
film.
sure. Well, obviously, yeah.
Yeah, okay, but you just let's just get. I just want to.
I
That
don't. I
was
think
not
you
clear.
underestimate the popularity of that show.
No, no, I've watched it.
It actually might be the thing that he's most well known for.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Yeah,
Yeah, he's the actor.
Sam
He's the
Whitworth,
guy.
is it?
Yeah, he's
Sam
the guy who
Whitworth?
plays
Yeah,
Deacon.
yeah, 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 yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So like his pedigree is like up there. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, I don't think it was an acting. I think it was more of a directing thing for me.
Yeah, I
But
guess
yeah,
so. I think the directing had its quirks. I don't think it was bad. I think it was just different. Somewhat,
Mm.
just because there's something I'm not used to doesn't mean necessarily make it bad. But I can understand maybe personal preferences playing a role. Sure. I
So
think
yeah, so
objectively it was good.
I'm playing it. Yeah, agreed,
We've seen
agreed.
a lot worse.
Yeah, agreed. So I'm sort of playing it to because I enjoy the mechanics, and
I that's both.
I'm not
Although,
just saying this to be different to you, but I
clearly, you're
actually
not
thought
playing
that
devil's advocate.
this no, I actually thought the story was the weakest part of the game.
Yeah,
In
I can see
that
why you think
I
that.
didn't need to play the game in order to understand the story because I knew exactly what was going to happen
Oh
for
yeah, me
pretty
too. I
much the
called it
whole
like
game from
3 or 4
like
hours in. I was
3 hours
yeah,
in.
yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
like,
It
I
was
know
obvious,
exactly where
but
this is going to go. I know exactly what's going to happen. Now, the one thing I didn't really expect was when I called you because, um, well, okay, spoilers
well,
for Days Gone for the next few
yeah,
minutes.
definitely.
Um, I'll give you like a couple of moments to switch off if you want. Do I recommend you play it? Yeah, I think you
Yes,
should try it out. See if you like it.
definitely. It's
But
brilliant.
basically, you find your wife to no surprise, Sarah, later on in
Yeah,
the game.
yeah, yeah.
And then there's about, I'm not joking, 8 to 10 missions where she
Yeah.
kind of blanks you and kind of
Yeah.
doesn't
She kind
acknowledge
of
the
doesn't
fact that you've gone
that
across the
you're even
whole
alive
world
or
to
anything.
try
Yeah. Well,
and I just
technically they didn't
called
go that far, which is what surprised me. They weren't
true.
that far away.
That's true.
They were like right
But
next to each other.
that's why I had to call Jay because I'm like, I'm on mission like 7 and I'm like, Jay, am I the only one on this fucking game that's like, oh, I don't know, Sarah, maybe you
Yeah.
should kiss your fucking ex-husband and say like, oh, like don't ever
Well,
leave me,
technically
blah blah
husband, they're
blah.
not even ex.
Right, sorry, yeah, you're right. I'm like, what
As
the
far as he was
this
concerned, she
act
died.
this not the acting, but this character is like driving me nuts. So I
Yeah.
didn't even end up liking
But
what's
the
her
thing is,
name,
I think
Sarah.
that's what made it good in the end is the fact of how much it like blue balled you, right?
No,
I
no, I
don't
didn't
think a
like
lot
that
of
at
people
all.
realize how much most media nowadays is just about blue balling the audience until right near the end, where there's like a
Sure,
twist, and then it's like, oh, sorry, we blue balled you, but that's what made it good. It's about the
sure.
journey, not the destination, Nick. We all know this. That's
Well,
what
I
makes
did not
most
enjoy the
media
story for
good.
Days Gone.
Because I was the same. I actually like didn't like the character because of that reason for the
Yeah.
longest time. But now looking back on it, I'm kind of like, well, she kind of softened up enough for it to be okay.
Mm.
But I think again that played more into that personality of the character more than the actual directing of the story. I think when it came down to it, I thought actually that's just who she is. Like she was about preservation. Like she did that because she didn't want them to be looked at differently so they could survive. It was more of a survival
I
thing than
get
it was
that.
anything.
I get it, but she could have done
And
it differently. But
no, no, I don't think she could have done. I don't think she
mm,
could have. I know exactly how you're feeling. I felt exactly the same way when I was playing it. I was like, she should have just said it outright. It should have been like, oh, lovey dovey, whatever. But looking back on it, if you really, really want to like really think about it, had she acted any other way, they probably might have been both killed off a lot earlier. The fact that they
sure.
kept it a secret is the reason why they even survived in the first place.
I just think that there were
It
parts
was
of this
genius on their
game
part, I
which
think.
definitely felt like it reminded me a bit of God of War Ragnarok in some sections where, oh, look, there's this whole new area of the map because this game can't just be 40 hours long. We need it to be 50,
Yeah,
60
it
hours
just
long. And
kept
I was
going,
like,
didn't it?
oh my
That's what
God,
thing is. That
guys.
can be
Like,
annoying, but it can also be fun. Like eventually, like looking
in
back
the
on it, I
right,
have very fond memories of that time.
sure. In the right game, in the right scenario, with the right, like, for instance, you could probably put 80 hours into Elden Ring and not even see the light of day. Like,
I
it
think
just
I've put
flies
that much
by.
in. Yeah,
But in a game like this, 10 hours is a long time.
yeah. This
So,
game felt like it should have been a 30, 40 hour game, but it ended up being twice as long.
yeah.
But I think
So
with the
yeah.
type of story, it should have been like with the type of story they were trying to tell, it couldn't have been a 34 hour, so 40-hour game. It would have felt rushed. It would have felt bad.
Yeah, that's true. That's probably true. That's probably
Which I
true.
think they realized that whoever wrote this was like, oh, no, this has to be a long game.
We need to be, yeah. And I do like the different acts in the story and how there's general groups that sort of move on and you discover, and
Yeah,
that's
new
quite good.
people, old people.
It makes you feel like it's quite
There's a good
progressive,
amount of character progression,
definitely. And
character
in the one
development.
game. And like I'm not that sad that there won't ever be a sequel, to be honest.
They did say that there might be. There's like a very, very faint hint of it potentially happening at some point.
mm,
But I think it was more down to the funding. Like Sony were like, the game didn't sell very well, so we're not going to do anything else.
yeah, and I think again that's sort of BS because I think it did sell well. It just didn't sell 10 million copies like their other
That's the thing.
games did.
Sony, being a Japanese company, their expectations are way higher. They think of themselves way more than they should do.
So
Xbox do as well, but they know that they're not anywhere near that. Whereas
yeah, yeah.
PlayStation think they're the kings of gaming, but they're not. They
So
might
I
be
think
in some instances for
overall,
console sales, but not in the way they think they are when it comes to
so
games. They're just not.
I think in general, I enjoyed the gameplay. The story not great. Length not great,
Yeah,
but I did enjoy it. I'm glad I played it. I'm glad I platinumed it. Like you say, Jay, the platinum was fairly accessible,
yeah.
and actually, it doesn't require you to kill all the hordes either, which I thought was quite nice because I was a little bit like,
Did it
I
not?
got no, I got to the
I
end of
think
the
I did
game and I
anyway.
was like, I don't blame you. They are quite fun towards the end of the game.
Like, oh yeah,
And some of them, by the way, like when you go back with your full upgrades and you go back to some of the starting
yeah.
areas, you're
A lot
like,
more
oh my
satisfying.
God, this is so easy. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, a lot of it
But
is confidence too, just being able to not be worried about dying or whatever it might be.
exactly.
In that way, it felt
Um,
kind of soulsy, but
yeah, so I think I did enjoy it. A couple of things to report. I think the game looked really good and it ran really well on PS5. I don't know if they've
It
done
does
an
run well,
update
doesn't
to
it?
it,
Yeah.
but 60 frames,
Yeah.
I think. But yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. I also I do like the music when it kicks in, but there's still
Music was
some
great.
pretty big bugs with the game. In terms of like enemy music wouldn't stop playing even after all the enemies are dead. And
I didn't get any
also,
bugs.
oh dude, I hit loads.
Yeah, I think you might have just got unlucky. I think you're like that. I don't know what it is. Whenever we play a game, like me and you can play. Let's put it this way: me and you are going to play Starfield. I'm gonna come across no bugs. You're gonna come across so many. Like it's
I'll
just
give
gonna
you the
happen.
list. I'll give you the list.
Yeah, exactly. It's just gonna
Uh,
happen. Like I'm
but
just one of these people who don't come across bugs very often. And even if there is one, I tend not to even notice it as a bug. I think I just think,
well,
oh,
it
that's
wasn't.
funny.
It's not necessarily game breaking, but I would say
No, I
the
think it
the,
has to
the
be big for me
enemy,
to notice. I think a lot of the time.
yeah, the enemy music one was just annoying because I'll be riding around on
Sure.
my bike 10 minutes later and I'll be like, I'm kind of sick of hearing this now. So,
Yeah.
but
I could have swore
yeah,
they fixed that.
I
Maybe
don't.
they
I
fixed it
mean,
after you played it. Like I could have swore they updated it recently.
maybe,
I think they did. I think they
maybe.
updated it in like early 2023, I think.
What's interesting is to see the rhetoric of this game because I looked at some
Yes.
reviews
Very
about this
odd.
game when it came out and it was pretty negative really.
I
People
actually
saying
think Death
like
Stranding and this game had a similar rhetoric when it came to reviews and how people talked about it. I think Days Gone was a lot worse, but I think again it was similar.
hmm.
For some reason, I think people just don't get it.
Well, yeah, some people were like saying this is a bad game. I didn't feel like I was well earned for my time. I didn't feel like blah 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 blah. And I was like,
Too
Did you
impatient.
play the same game as me?"
Yeah.
Like,
I think a lot of journalists don't finish games when they review them.
mm. And
I
furthermore,
genuinely think there
Jay,
should be a
they've
rule that you should not be able to review a game until you've finished it.
mm,
That should be
agreed.
a rule. Should be a hard rule.
Furthermore, they've got so many things to worry about in terms of games coming up. They're probably not even in the present
Yeah,
moment a lot
which
of
is
the
why they
time.
rush it. Like so many reviewers and journalists have to review like two or three games at the same time.
That's why I don't really give a shit about talking to you about Days Gone 4 years after it comes out because like I just don't care. Like we play it when we play it.
Well,
It is what it
you
is,
can
you know?
formulate your own opinion.
Yeah.
Like I
There's
think
no
what you say about it matters more than what someone else says about it because they probably didn't play the whole thing anyway.
did they
So
platinum it, you know what
who's
I mean?
them to say? Yeah, exactly. I feel like until
There
you've like fully completed it, like you just shouldn't even be talked about necessarily.
there is too much of a culture around day one reviews and stuff. Like no one gives a shit. Just review it properly
Well,
and
luckily
then,
the review codes for Starfield went out like 2 weeks ago, so that's a decent amount of time.
is it enough though, Jay? Is it enough?
I
I
think it's
guess we'll
enough
find
for me.
out.
If you're a reviewer, you're going to do main campaign, aren't you? You're going to have to.
Oh,
I think most of the reviews we'll see will be based on initial gameplay mechanics, middle game mechanics, and then end game for campaign. And everything after that won't be reviewed until later.
sure,
There'll be an updated review on everything, and there'll be a second load of reviews coming through for stuff for later game content. Can almost
sure.
guarantee it. Gonna have
So
to.
yeah, so overall, I enjoyed Days Gone.
Good. I'm glad you
It
played it.
probably hit. Thanks. Yeah, I. What was I going to say?
Hit a
Um,
wall.
no, I'm glad I played it when I did because I can't imagine in any other time period of having enough
Mm.
time to play it.
That's one thing about a lot
Frankly,
of games I've played
so
recently. It feels like I played them at exactly the right time.
mm,
I can't remember the last game I played where I thought I played that the wrong time.
sure.
I think Cyberpunk might be one of those ones that's on the fence where it's like I kind of wish I'd played it maybe later. I don't know. It's hard to say. But I'm glad I
Yeah, but
played it when
Jay,
I
at
did.
that time, there was no way anyone could convince you not to
Yeah,
play that
that's
game.
true. I've been waiting for that game for so long. I'm
So,
invested, very invested.
so yeah. So that's that.
Cool.
Any questions? Just email us or drop us a note or something or message us.
Mm.
Crash 4, Jay. So
I
Crash 4 is a game I bought on sale. Love Crash Bandicoot, obviously. And I never finished Crash 4. I think I played through like 3/4 of it
yeah, I
and
think I
got a
remember you
bit,
saying
yeah, got a bit stuck. I found it a bit too intimidating in regards
I can't play
to
those
all
kind of
the
games
different
anymore.
activities and stuff. I know what you mean in terms of
They're kind of
that,
beyond
the
me.
3D platformer thing. I get that. But I think I just got to a point where the OCD thing kicked in and I was trying to get all the gems and stuff, and I was like, no, I can't. It's too hard. And then I just freaked out and left basically and ran. And then I installed it on my PS4 back home the other day. 'Cause I was like, I've never finished it. I've spent money on it. I should probably just finish it.
Yeah,
So
I'm like that with a lot of mine.
I mopped up a few trophies. I finished the game, and I also, yeah, I think I've only got not many trophies left, but they're all the really hard ones.
Are
So
they doable?
no, not
Oh,
absolutely not.
okay. So they're not. You've
Absolutely
kind of
not.
like given up already. Like I can't go any further.
Oh no. Crash 4 is regarded as one of the hardest platinums ever.
I was going to say. I think I've had people talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I'm not investing 300 hours for like I'm not a streamer, I just no,
I think
never.
streamers wouldn't even put that much time into it because they usually move on to the next thing anyway.
I think you're probably right. But I'm
Yeah.
glad I finished it. The levels are challenging, but because of my new Dark Souls like
I
essence,
was going to say
it
you
was
sort of
alright.
almost have like an extra level of skill now, right? When you think
I
like
think
to
so.
me, when I finished the Dark Souls games and even Elden Ring, like part of I almost felt like I actually leveled up as a gamer.
Totally.
Same with Call of Duty. Like once you get good at those games, you do level up. Like your FPS skill is a hell of a lot better. It's going to definitely help the Starfield.
And I think confidence, precision, perseverance will all improve as well, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, my confidence for gaming has gone way up over the last couple of years. Like I always felt so timid coming into certain games, but now I don't really feel that as much anymore.
And I
Like it
think
kind of
part of
goes away
that,
within the first like half an hour,
yeah, and I
if
think
not
part of
sometimes
that
not at
is
all.
becoming comfortable with, dying, with retrying, with all that
Yeah,
kind of
just
stuff and
knowing what the limits
figuring
are, I
out.
guess.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm glad I've got that off my plate, and that's one ticked off the bucket list, I suppose.
God, dude,
The
there's
other
yeah too
game,
many.
a couple of games left. The first one is Destroy Humans 2 Reprobed, which is the
Yeah, I
remake
thought
of
you'd play that
the
eventually.
PS2 classic Destroy Humans 2. So it came to PS Plus
Hmm.
on the subscription. So I was waiting for it to come to either Game Pass or PS Plus.
Yeah,
A
it had
quick
to. Yeah.
Oh, dude. Well, the first one came to Game Pass, right? And this is what I thought it was interesting, Jay. This contributes to my conspiracy theory that PlayStation are slowly but surely nicking a lot of really good games from potential Game Pass games. So this game had Game Pass written all
Oh, I
over
see.
it, right? The
Yeah,
first
it
one came to
does.
Game
Yeah.
Pass, and yet they've nabbed it on PS Plus. And this and many other games, like you see added, right? Every month, more games added to PS Plus subscription. And I just keep thinking, like, they are slowly nicking a lot of good grabs here from Xbox. So I know
Well,
Xbox have like Persona and stuff, but it's
there's always time. There's always time.
so what happened with Sure Humans 2J? So I finished the first remake and enjoyed it, right? It's a PS2 game, but I enjoyed it. Interestingly, with Sure Humans 2, I think it might be timing, but I played it for a couple of hours and I think I didn't really. Okay, so first of all, in my mind, to Sure Humans 2, I remember way more than one because I played it a lot more.
I remember
And
one level and two, but yeah, I can understand why. I remember you playing that. Yeah.
And I think part of that was because L got it, so it was
Yep.
forbidden, and that probably attracted me more to it. I think I played through it multiple times, but anyway, point being, I played through it, and one, I don't think I realized how drawn out the content was in the game because it's got a lot
Hmm.
more in it, but I
Yep.
don't necessarily think it's better content. And then also, Jay, I think maybe I've just gotten to a place right now for me where I was playing it and it's good. It looks great. It plays quite smoothly. Everything's, as it should be, but it's still a PS2 game. And I'm in a frame of mind where I just think, yeah, I'm not, well, I'm good. So yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
guess it's
it.
kind of like junk food equivalent of games, right? And you just sort of play it, and you don't necessarily need to like think anything too highly of it. It's just there for nostalgia and fun at this point, which
Totally.
is still good to have every so
Yeah, of
often. If
course.
you're in the mood for it, you're in the mood for it, aren't you?
And
So
maybe there will be one day where I really fancy finishing it, but right now, not interested. So
fair enough.
there we go. The other game I think I called you about, Jay, was next on the FromSoft list. Game called Sekiro:
Oh Jesus, yeah.
Shadows Die Twice. So I
Well,
borrowed Sekiro off a mate, and for those who haven't been catching up, I've now gone through Bloodborne, Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 3. So Sekiro's next up and Elden Ring, right? If you guys don't remember, Jay said Like, so Jay's tried this game and he was like, I can do it. I don't want to do it. It's more
Yeah,
skill based than it is
it's
RPG.
gonna take way too much of my mental for me to even like. I mean, I'd have to really have nothing else going on and be
Right.
just in the mood for that. Like you have to be specifically in a very, very focused mode to want to play
For
that
like
game.
2 months. But yeah,
Yeah, a
literally.
long time. It's gonna take you a long time because you got like every area is different. Like it's just you're
So,
basically playing a whole new game every like 4 to 8 hours.
right.
It's insane.
So
Yeah.
basically, Sekiro was. So I was watching one of the RKG run throughs, and Sekiro was actually one of the first games I watched Rory play, and was
Hmm.
like, oh yeah, I watched Rory play, and I was like, oh, I kind of fancied the look of that gameplay, and that's what made me go to Bloodborne
Yeah,
back in the day.
aesthetically, yeah.
So anyway, so long story short, we get to Sekiro. So I put it in, I give it a go. I needed a podcast game, and usually the FromSoft games are really good for that. So anyway,
This one isn't.
so oh my god, dude. So I'm like,
Opposite.
2 hours in. I've gone through like the bit where with the hard boss at the start, blah blah blah, and I'm like, all good, kind of groovy, like it feels satisfying. And then I'm like 3 hours in, and I'm like, okay, I'm dying a lot more than the other games, and I feel like I'm still
Yeah,
really shit.
you
And then I
feel it
get,
right away.
and then I get 4 or 5 hours in, and I'm like, I'm still in like the opening area. I haven't even got to the first boss yet.
Yeah.
This is And then I called up my mate who's finished it like 7 times, and he's like, "Yeah, Nick, bro, you just need to power through it. It's like the best game
It
you'll
is.
ever
It's a power
experience."
through
But
game, 100%. Yeah.
and he was
I mean, even
"Where you
Wolong
at?
was
Where
like
you
that,
at?"
but
Oh my god, he was like, "Where you at?" And I was like, "Dude, I haven't got to the first boss." And he was like, "Yeah, you're not gonna have a good time with that game." And I was like, and then I rang Jay, and I was like, "Jay, just to be clear, am I supposed to feel this bad at the game?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm out. Nope, sorry. FromSoft, you've done it. I'm
it's
not playing
it's
this
funny.
game."
Sekiro doesn't really feel much like a. It feels like an experiment from soft from soft from soft from soft. That's a funny
Exactly.
one. That kind of because I remember that even in Bloodborne or like some of the other Dark Souls games, I want to say there was an interview with the director who said that when they were doing testing for bosses, the thing that they'd get, the feedback they'd get the most was, "Oh, this boss was really hard." So they made the bosses harder because they wanted like gamers just to be that good. Like they wanted the quality of their bosses to be like so thought about that you'd have to get even better at it to like you have to like surpass your limit of what you think was going to be the thing. And I think they took that feedback and did it really, really hard, like too far over the edge with Sekiro. And they made it even harder with giving it a harder combat as well. So they added the hardest bosses in a FromSoft game ever, plus the hardest combat to learn. So I think it's just an experiment that probably went a little bit too far in one direction,
It definitely, I mean,
unfortunately.
from what I know, it was supposed to be a Tenchu game. Was it a Tenchu game, but became a new IP? And I can see how this other team, right? So they make Sekiro, then they make Armored Core 6. So you can kind of see that they're trying to experiment and diverse the portfolio of games they're making a little bit, right? But
Yeah.
at the same time, like you say, Jay, I can see the line and I can see how to cross it. I can just see also how much time it's going to take to cross the line. And
It's
I
a
just,
mixture of time and actual skill because I think I have the skill to do it. It's just it would take me a lot longer than I'm willing at right now to get there.
exactly. And I think personally, one of the things that make Bloodborne so beautiful is
And
that
yeah,
the line of reward with difficulty is almost
it's
perfect.
very balanced. Yes, extremely balanced.
And
Same
I
with
think,
Dark Souls games as well. Elden Ring, they're all
agreed.
very balanced. Yeah.
And I think the issue for me personally with Sekiro is that they just threw the line out the window
Yeah,
completely.
there isn't a line. It's just a whole beach
And it,
that you have to really slog through, or like a
dude,
swamp or
the
something.
game is so different too. Like, I
Very
think
different. Yeah.
I actually don't think it should be necessarily classed in the same pool as
Nope.
Bloodborne and Elden Ring as Dark Souls.
Nope. Nope.
I
Nope. Nope.
genuinely think, like, I know you've got those people who do no hit runs for all the games and Sekiro.
No hit
I just
run.
I just don't even think that, like, you don't have a creator class. There's music playing
Yeah,
all the
it's
time.
not the same
There's
ball
stealth.
game.
There's a
It
whole
really
stealth
isn't.
system. There's a new combat system. It's
To
hard,
me,
but it's a
it's like
completely different game.
it's like looking at the tree of evolution, and like say we all come from apes or whatever. Like Sekiro is like a lizard.
Right.
We're an ape, and all the Dark Souls games are us and apes. But then uh, Bloodborne is like a small monkey. Like it's closer to apes, but like a lizard isn't that close to apes in comparison to what monkeys are. You know? Like it's a whole different
Exactly.
ball game. It's on the
Yeah.
same tree, but doesn't necessarily make it like
Yeah, exactly.
thing, species or whatever. Like it's
Yeah.
completely different.
And
I
I
think
was
yeah, I'm
really
glad it's its own thing, but I think it should be celebrated for that. I don't think it should be even compared to
yeah, for
other Souls
sure.
games
And
necessarily.
if I'm honest, Jay, I didn't
Doesn't
quite
even feel like a
believe
FromSoft
you.
game to be honest.
I didn't
Yeah,
quite
you would.
believe
Why would
you
you
it.
believe me?
Well, yeah, I just you're like, oh, Nick, it's really hard. I don't think you'll like it. And I was like, okay, sure,
Well,
Jay,
you
I
got to
won't
try it
like
out.
it.
Yeah.
But um, but I'm genuinely surprised by how different it is. And again, it kind of bewilders me a little
Yeah,
in
it
that
frustrates me
why
thinking
did
about it
this?
now.
Why? But
It angers me a little
it
bit.
also it also makes me weirded out that why did FromSoft get all this praise about this one in terms of Game
And
of the
not,
Year and all that stuff
yeah, all
over
the other
the
ones.
other ones?
I know.
I was just like, because this game
Timing.
to
It was just
me,
timing.
dude,
Bad year for games. That was the best one of them all.
it's
Just the way
true.
it was.
And also, I do think you talked about earlier, Jay, that was it 50,000 people bought Dark Souls One. This to
Yeah.
me feels like they made the game for the 50,000, and that was it.
Yes, 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 yes. They made it for the hardcore.
And I'm okay with that. I'm cool with that. I'm just not going to play it. I'm cool
Yeah,
with that. I'm just not
I'll
going to
come
play
back
it.
to it, but I'll have to literally nothing going on. Like I have to be so motivated, like incredibly motivated. I'm just not for
Dude, if
that
you were
kind of
like,
thing.
Nick, I'm going to pay you for a week wages to play this game on stream. Yeah, crack on. I'll do it. Not a
Yeah,
problem.
you need that extra motivation, and there just isn't like trophies aren't enough of a motivation for me.
No,
And even the
not a
skill
chance.
like, of just getting good at it just isn't the motivation. Like
My
I don't know
follow
if I'll ever get there, honestly. I don't think
my
I
follow
need to. It's not necessary.
No, it's not necessary.
You
It's
just
what like
understand your limits.
who have you got to prove, Jay? Who have you got to
No
prove?
one, absolutely no one.
My
I'm
follow-on
fine.
question to this though, Jay, is
Mm,
that I now okay, so I'm going to miss this game out. I'm cool with that. But my follow-on question is, how much of that mentality did they put in Elden Ring? Because it makes me worried.
none. Not even close.
Okay,
Elden Ring is like I said, is a lot more like Bloodborne than it is Sekiro. Like it's
so
sort
that
of
makes
like
fine.
the love child of Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, it's a lot more fine-tuned.
Interesting.
Like story-wise, it's probably the best one. Uh, Gameplay-wise, it's probably the most satisfying. But I mean, Bloodborne is obviously, but yeah, I'd say this is definitely more. Elden Ring is more on the level of Bloodborne versus Sekiro is sort of more on the level of Dark Souls 2.
Fine. Oh,
Let's
that
go with
makes
that.
sense. That does make sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
because obviously I
Didn't
think it
didn't
went.
this
Did it
team
go?
make Dark Souls 2 as well? Did they?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'm not even sure.
They did. But anyway. But yeah, I'm glad I tried it out. But well, I'll just watch RKG's run through now.
At
But
least you know now. At least you understand. You
mm,
know,
also, Jay,
you're on the level.
spoilers for Sekiro if you haven't played. I mean, how would you have not played it yet if you love those games? But anyway,
Yeah.
just skip ahead 1 minute if you don't want to hear. Okay. Um, there's the Guardian 8 bit, Jay.
Yeah.
You know the bit I'm on about? Um, I've heard that there's a lot of moments like that in Sekiro, so I'm interested to see what those look like from a YouTube perspective. And I think that's it. That's what I was going to
I'd
say.
say this Sekiro is probably one of the most blindsided games you'll ever have. Like the game will blindside you every hour or so, and it'll make you figure it out as well. Like it won't give you, it'll give you some hints, but actually give you more hints than you'd think. But it blindsides the shit out of you every time. It's like, oh my, what? Like it just throws a massive curveball all the time. It's disorientating, but not in a good way.
Yeah, that is disorientating.
it makes you play it over and over and over and over and over till you actually finally get it to fine tune, which I think is good game development. I just think they might have gone on like a step too far.
Well, it kind of reminds me of the horse boss in Wolong, right? And I think
Yes,
you remember you
I actually
mentioning,
really enjoyed that, but
sure.
that felt
I
more
remember
accessible than that. But yes,
and I remember you mentioning that, ironically, there's a horse, like the first boss in the game is a horse boss, right? In Sekiro.
yes,
Um, but I feel like that boss is probably as hard or harder than almost any boss in Wolong, basically, in terms of timing,
I
skill.
think any boss in Sekiro is harder than the hardest boss in Wolong. Yeah,
Right, right, right,
like
right,
way harder. It's funny because Wolong and Sekiro actually have a very, very similar combat mechanic system.
right, right,
But
right, right.
Sekiro is a lot more. No, no. Wolong is basically the Sekiro mechanic, but a lot more forgiving. Like there's a lot more
Yeah, yeah,
frames of forgiveness,
yeah, 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 yeah.
um, even though it felt tight at times. But yeah, I feel like if Sekiro had taken the Wolong thing instead, it would be a 10 times better game. And it's already
Yeah,
won Game of the Year, so it's like how the fuck, you know?
I think fair play to them for sticking to that. But
Hmm.
it does make me wonder if you made it a bit more like accessible, like Bloodborne's accessible. I
Yeah,
think it would
they
have just been, you
FromSoft
know,
aren't a very accessible friendly developer. That's not their thing, which is
yeah,
surprising because Bloodborne felt a lot more accessible, but it wasn't designed that way.
yeah. Do you know, also,
I think it's
Jay,
just because the mechanics lent themselves for an easier time. I think that's what it was. A lot of the
right?
time, the difficulty comes primarily from mechanics, if you ask me.
Also, what was interesting was I googled hardest FromSoft game just to sanity check
It'll be
myself,
Sekiro, it has to be,
right?
right?
Do you know what else people said? People were like, "Oh, Bloodborne." I was like, "Bloodborne? Are you
No, that's so
idiots,
easy.
man?" But
Jesus
yeah, no, everyone
Christ.
said Sekiro pretty much, like by a
Yeah.
mile.
I think it's
So,
because Bloodborne, I think, was sort of like the first FromSoft game to actually get popular. Like popular, like more than
yeah, yeah, yeah,
mainstream. If it
yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
for
yeah.
Bloodborne, Sekiro never would have won Game of the Year
I think you're probably right about that.
because it wouldn't have had the same popularity. I think a lot of time Game of the Year actually comes like a part of the like a third of the reason why Game of the Year is Game of the Year is because of the popularity.
And previous
Like when
games,
was the
right?
last time? Actually,
Like it,
weirdly, what was the last time we had a Game of the Year that wasn't popular? Did It Takes Two?
yeah,
Did that win Game of the Year?
yeah.
That was probably the most surprise
Least
I've ever
triple A.
seen.
Yeah, yeah,
Least
yeah.
AAA type Game of the Year,
But
I'd ever
even
say.
that, Jay, is built up from A Brother's A Tale of Two Sons, which is built
Yeah.
up from, or afterwards, A Way
A
Out.
Way Out. Yeah, there you
And
go.
then,
Yeah,
do you know what I
yeah, yeah.
mean? So
If it
it's
wasn't for
kind of
those games ran, so that one could walk
exactly. Wait, yeah, sure.
or
Yeah.
walked for run, whichever way
Yeah, yeah,
round.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Regardless, like, if it wasn't for those games setting the foundation, that would have never won Game of the Year.
Exactly right.
And the
Exactly right.
pandemic helped as well. People were actually at home to play it. So there's a bunch of variables as to why it got that far. But yeah, we can say the same about any game, I suppose.
And with
Yeah,
that, I leave you with this quote from
please.
Sekiro. No idea the character or the place or the time.
Me neither, I don't think. Unless I've
Hesitation
heard it.
is defeat.
Yes, that is basically the motto of Sekiro, 100%. You hesitate at any point, you'll get blindsided and you'll die. You'll lose all your bar and that's it. That
And
is,
what's
yeah.
for what it's worth, I think I should probably take a few notes of that because I do hesitate way too much,
Yeah,
especially when it
no, I
comes to
think that's what
food
the game.
menus. I think I'm very hesitant.
That's just anybody with social anxiety or just anxiety in general.
You reckon is that anxiety trait? You
That's
reckon,
anxiety trait, 100%. I can guarantee you.
like not
It's a
picking
it's
the
a
right?
mixture of wanting to not seem awkward, anxiety, and also um, not wanting to seem confident. Like if you know what you want, you know what you want. You're confident about what you want. You know? You're not
Mm,
someone who's like picky or wishy-washy or whatever. Like you can make a decision and just go and do that thing, rather versus someone who's like, well, and like it's just seen as like a bad trait, I guess. But
interesting. Yeah, I've never seen it from that outside perspective, but I get what you mean.
depends how you look at it. Depends how you look at it. It's all about
I get you.
perception. It's all about perception.
I get you.
Yeah.
Right, Jay, you ready to go?
Yeah,
Must
I
be
got one last
starving.
thing.
Oh, please, yeah, please.
Dead Island 2 DLC.
Okay.
They updated the game recently, and the achievements for the DLC are out. They're actually on the official achievements list, but the DLC isn't out yet. So Bit strange, but there we are.
When is the
Not
DLC
sure
out?
if it
Sorry.
was intended. I don't know, they haven't actually given a date, which is weird. Like the achievements are there, but the DLC isn't out yet, so it's really
It sounds
strange.
like it's going to shadow drop then, right?
Potentially, yeah. I'm looking forward to it though. Dead Island 2 is one of my favorite games this year.
Did you get the
So
season pass thing
yeah, I
already,
got the
or
special edition, so the season pass is ready to go.
and did you say was it 3 or 4 things to come out? I think you said.
They've already had a bunch of cosmetic DLC come out. It's just now
Okay,
the actual like story DLC is coming out soon.
okay. And
So
how
I'll play that probably at Christmas, probably.
nice?
Unlikely,
Oh, that'd
but
be
yeah,
good. Yeah.
Dead Island 2 actually is one of my like top 5 games this year, maybe top 10. I don't know, I'd say, but it's very up there.
Actually, funny you
Very
say
good
that
game.
because I think Dead Rising 4 set at Christmas, isn't it? So I could see how they
Sure.
should do a Christmas themed DLC. That'd be cool.
That would be
That
cool.
game.
Yeah,
Cool.
winter in LA.
Winter in LA. That'd be cool. All
Yeah.
right, we're gonna peace out. We will speak to you guys post Starfield. So
Yes, it'll be a good time.
see you on the other side. That's exciting, isn't
Yes,
it? Oh
I
wow.
know, it's crazy. So crazy.
All right, guys.
Been
See you
waiting so
later.
long. Bye.